I fell in love with my brother, Zhao Yandong, who has no blood relation to me. I pestered him persistently and eventually got pregnant, and finally married him. After marriage, he doted on me, but he rarely touched me. The last time I took the initiative to approach him, he said with a cold face, "Song Jianan, don't you know what shame is?" My heart gradually died, but I accidentally returned to the night when we first met. He was enchanted by me, however. I pushed him away and moved out of the Zhao family's house overnight. I even started a new relationship at a lightning speed, just to show him my determination not to pester him anymore. But Zhao Yandong lost his composure and blocked me downstairs at the dormitory. "Nan Nan, does your new boyfriend know that you were still with me 3 days ago? How dare you go on a date with him with these hickeys?" 1. During a boring afternoon tea. The topic eventually shifted from jewelry and new clothes to men. My best friend Suing, who doesn't want to get married or have children, finished talking about her colorful love history. When she made everyone envious, she suddenly smiled and looked at me. "However, our Nan Nan has the best taste, Mr. Zhao looks very capable at first glance." I was a bit stunned, poking at the cake on the plate, and suddenly lost my appetite. This is the 5th year of my marriage to Zhao Yandong. And the number of times we've been together after marriage can be counted on the fingers of one hand. Suing looked at me expectantly. "You're Mr. Zhao just came back from a half-month business trip. Are you going to have a sweet reunion tonight after a short separation?" 2. I smiled bitterly. "He's working overtime tonight and staying at the company, then have some fun in the office. It's more interesting." Suing pulled me up. "Don't look so resentful. Let's go buy a new battle dress now." Go straight to his office. "This time you have to listen to me." You drain him completely so that he has no energy to find other women. I was a bit dazed. Other women. I can guarantee that there are no other women outside for Zhao Yandong. But I'm not sure if there is someone in his heart. After all, in the few times we were together, it was always me who took the initiative. If I don't take the initiative, he will never touch me. 3. Suing helped me pick a battle dress that cost nearly 5 digits. After the salesgirl helped with dry cleaning and ironing, Suing ordered me to put it on immediately. I just wrapped a thin trench coat that I wore when I came. I felt a bit embarrassed, but Suing said, "Nan Nan, I've been in love since I was 14 years old. I've dated as many men as crucian carps crossing the river. There are no exceptions for men in this world. They are all visual animals. Trust me, if you go up like this, he will definitely love you to death." 4. But Zhao Yandong was obviously an exception, or maybe he really had no feelings for me. When I walked into the president's office on the top floor, he just raised his head from the pile of documents on the desk. He glanced at me indifferently. "You sit there and wait for me for a while." Then he continued with his work, and when I locked the door from the inside, untied the belt of my trench coat and walked in front of him. He frowned slightly and looked at me for a second, then continued with what he was doing. Even the handwriting of his signature didn't get messed up. It was not until 5 minutes later that he put down the pen, closed the file, and turned off the computer. After standing up, he looked at me expressionlessly. "Nan Nan, put your clothes on properly." But I didn't listen to him. The trench coat fell lightly to the ground. The little black dress with silk satin and lace was as thin as a cicada's wing and couldn't even cover the roots of my thighs. Zhao Yandong's expression finally changed. The buttons of his clothes were buttoned all the way to the top, showing his usual cold and abstinent style. But at this moment, above the buttons, his extremely sexy Adam's apple rolled violently. His neatly trimmed sideburns revealed the skin behind his ears, which was slightly red. 5. Enduring my shyness. I wrapped my arms around his waist. "Husband, do you like it?" Zhao Yandong's body was very hot, but he still held down my restless hand and said in a deep voice, "Go home first." I don't know why, but my heart was filled with despair and a burning pain. "I want to stay here, Nan Nan." Zhao Yandong was about to say something more, but I directly pushed him against the French window. I stood on tiptoe and kissed him. The boiling lava can devour everything. Even the cold iceberg should melt at this moment. At the end, Zhao Yandong had taken the initiative. I braced my hands on the cold glass. My fingertips left long wet marks on the foggy glass. Finally, my knees were against the soft carpet, and my whole body was trembling. When he carried me to take a shower, his movements were very gentle. I indulged unbearably and raised my face to kiss him again. "Husband, I want more." But when Zhao Yandong looked at me, the remaining tenderness in his eyes suddenly turned into indifference. I was a bit at a loss and stared at him blankly. He pushed me away and his voice was even colder. "Song Jianan, don't you know what shame is? I staggered and held onto the sink to stand firm, but Zhao Yandong turned around and went out. Tears welled up suddenly. Zhao Yandong, do you hate me so much? What responded to me was the sound of the door slamming shut. I took a hasty shower, wrapped in my trench coat and staggered away. When I got downstairs and was walking across the road in a trance, I don't know where a lunatic with a knife came from and stabbed me in the abdomen with a knife. 6. It was as if I had a very long dream, and when I opened my eyes again, I saw Zhao Yandong, who looked 6 years younger. At this moment, there was a look of confusion and desire on his young and handsome face. His eyes were filled with lust. I, who was 21 years old, was shamelessly straddling Zhao Yandong's body. I called him brother one after another, in a sweet and coquettish voice. Zhao Yandong seemed unable to hold back any longer, and he turned over and pressed me under him again. At this moment, I gradually came to my senses, but I suddenly pushed him away. It was this night that I got pregnant with Yang Yang. With this child, I forced Zhao Yandong to marry me. 7. In the 5 years of our marriage, Zhao Yandong rarely had happy moments, only that one time. I accidentally saw him talking to a girl wearing a white coat. She was beautiful and innocent. His expression was very gentle, and the smile in his eyes flowed naturally. The picture of them standing together was indescribably harmonious and well-matched. Perhaps from that moment on, my obsession gradually faded away. If it weren't for my seduction and entanglement, there wouldn't be a child. Zhao Yandong wouldn't have to marry me out of helplessness and be separated from the girl he liked. 8. Brother. We were just drunk. I will pretend that nothing happened tonight. I don't want you to take responsibility either. I stepped back towards the door and bent down to put on my shoes. Zhao Yandong's voice gradually turned cold. What tricks are you trying to play this time, Song Jianan? There are no girls as shameless as you, seducing your own brother. It won't happen again in the future. I forced a smile. Brother, I won't pester you anymore in the future. You can like the girl you like. You can marry the wife you want to marry. You don't have to be entangled by the shameless Song Jianan for the rest of your life anymore. I turned around, opened the door, and walked out of the room in big strides. I went downstairs to buy some medicine, then I called a car and went directly back to the Zhao family's house. I casually packed some personal belongings and moved to Su Ying's place overnight. When I left, my adoptive mother, Mrs. Zhao, just persuaded me a few words and didn't stop me. I know that in my previous life, when I married Zhao Yandong, it was a worry in her heart, in her eyes. Her only son, Zhao Yandong, whose background, appearance and ability were all impeccable. His wife shouldn't be an ordinary orphan girl like me. I won't be so stupid in this life. 9. 3 days after I moved out of the Zhao family's house, in the WeChat group where both Zhao Yandong and I were in, someone suddenly sent a photo. God. Is this the goddess Zhou Bijuan? She's back in the country. Brother Dong, is she here for you? I clicked on that photo. The girl in the photo had a beaming smile. Her face gradually overlapped with the woman I saw in my previous life. Someone sent another screenshot of a moment's post. The jade is going back to its rightful owner, Zhao. The accompanying picture was a photo of a very fine concentric white jade pendant. It was carefully held in the hand of a very handsome man. I recognized it at a glance. That hand belonged to Zhao Yandong. His fingers were very long and his nails were neatly trimmed. There was a very small mole on the pulp of his index finger. That night, I kissed that hand. I felt that my whole body was trembling, and my hands were shaking so much that I could hardly hold my phone. This is clearly an official announcement post. It's just short of Brother Dong's name, but they were in a good relationship before. Why didn't they end up together later? It's all because of Song Jianan. She couldn't wait to stick to Brother Dong every day and broke up this couple. The group was silent for a moment, and someone changed the topic. I smiled self-deprecatingly and turned off my phone. Yes, the jade should go back to Zhao, and the clown should consciously step down. 10. Zhao Yandong felt a bit restless as he looked at the boring chat in the group. Song Jianan, who used to have countless WeChat messages and phone calls every day, but there had been no news from her in these 3 days. He simply threw away the cards in his hand and went out to smoke. Mrs. Zhao happened to call and asked him if he wanted to come back for dinner in the evening, but he suddenly asked, "What is Song Jianan doing? Is she annoying you again?" Mrs. Zhao was obviously in a good mood. This child insisted on moving out and going to her best friend's place. I thought that since the child has her own opinions when she grows up, I didn't stop her. She moved out. Yes, she's been out for 2 days. Zhao Yandong hung up the phone. The feeling of stuffiness in his chest became even stronger. Song Jianan had loved to pester him since she was a child, and shamelessly said that she was his little bride. When she grew up, she tried all kinds of ways to seduce him. He had drunk a couple more glasses that night, and was really seduced by her into bed, but she said that they were both drunk, and they should just pretend that nothing happened, and she didn't even want him to take responsibility. 11. Thinking of this, Zhao Yandong couldn't help but laugh out of anger, but a clear female voice sounded behind him. Yandong, it really is you. Zhao Yandong turned around and saw Zhou Bijuan. She stood there smiling, with bright eyes and a stunning beauty. Long time no see. Zhao Yandong nodded slightly and casually moved his gaze away. Long time no see, Yandong, let's have dinner together later. Zhou Bijuan looked at the man in front of her, and the admiration in her eyes couldn't be hidden. Over the past few years, she had many suitors. She had also met all kinds of outstanding men, but none of them could compare to him. Only he was worthy of her. Just as Zhao Yandong was about to refuse, his phone rang. He lowered his head and unlocked the screen. It was still a message from the group. Someone sent a screenshot of Song Jinan's Moments post. A minute ago, she officially announced her new boyfriend. In the photo, the two of them were snuggling closely together. And Song Jinan was smiling very sweetly. She was 100 times sweeter than when she straddled his waist that day and lied to him that she loved him so much. Zhao Yandong's handsome face suddenly darkened. 12. Yandong, what's wrong with you? You look so bad. When a soft hand reached out and was about to touch his furrowed brow, Zhao Yandong directly took a step back to avoid it. I still have something to do. I'm leaving first. Yandong, can't you have a meal with me? Zhou Bijuan's voice trembled slightly, as if it was going to break the next second, but Zhao Yandong just looked at her misty eyes indifferently. There's no need, Yandong, you're still angry with me, aren't you? The tears that Zhou Bijuan had been holding back fell. Russell, Miss Zhou, you're overthinking it. Zhao Yandong was in a very bad mood and didn't even want to be perfunctory at this moment. He turned around and walked towards the elevator, took out his phone and called his assistant. Go and check what Song Jianan has been doing these days. Zhou Bijuan stared blankly as Zhao Yandong walked into the elevator without looking back. She didn't even notice that her bag had fallen to the ground. How could this be? Why did the development of things go completely different from what she had expected? Zhou Bijuan unconsciously looked at her own figure in the mirror, from head to toe. She was all exquisite and so beautiful that it made people's hearts flutter. But Zhao Yandong had only looked at her twice just now, and those two glances didn't show the slightest surprise or emotion. In Zhou Bijuan's beautiful eyes, a layer of darkness gradually covered them. 13. When my best friend Suing and I returned to the dormitory in the evening, we unexpectedly saw Zhao Yandong's car parked downstairs of the dormitory. As soon as Suing saw Zhao Yandong, she immediately poked me gossipingly. Nan, your brother is here to find you. Is this the first time? Sure enough, the more serious a man is, the more sullen and lustful he is. You said before that no matter how you seduced him, he was indifferent. I don't think he was indifferent, he just enjoyed the feeling of you seducing him too much. But it's really exciting that an abstinent male god turns into a possessive and crazy person when he's jealous. You're probably going to be exhausted by him tonight. You're thinking too much. Suing, I smiled helplessly. He really doesn't like me, even though that night, he was deeply indulged and even wanted to have a second time insatiably. It was just driven by alcohol and desire. After all, in his eyes, I'm always a scheming and shameless person who seduces my brother. I still remember the day of my 17th birthday. I drank alcohol for the first time and took the opportunity to confess to him. The look in his eyes when he looked at me was filled with unconcealable coldness and disgust, and since then, he moved out of the Zhao family's house and lived alone. He even started to avoid me openly and secretly, but at that time, I was young and ignorant, and I didn't know where my courage came from. The more Zhao Yandong avoided me, the more obsessively I pestered him. Until 3 days ago, I finally got what I wanted. In my previous life, I was complacent and full of hope because of his indulgence that night. It wasn't until 5 years into our marriage that I finally woke up from that ridiculous dream. The sharp knife stabbed into my body again and again, and the intense pain was still like a maggot attached to the bone, reminding me day and night, don't make the same mistake again. Stay as far away from Zhao Yandong as possible. It would be best if we never met again in this life. When you like someone, why do you have to selfishly possess him with so-called love? Nan, come here. Zhao Yandong extinguished the cigarette, and his handsome face seemed to be covered with a layer of frost. I've been a bit afraid of him on ordinary days, especially when he is wearing formal attire and has a cold expression. As Suing said, I'm timid but also daring. Ever since I was a child, whenever Zhao Yandong glanced at me, my legs would go weak with fear, but surprisingly, when I grew up, I had the audacity to pester him persistently. Looking back now, I don't know where I got the courage that night. I asked the person I called brother to go to a hotel with me. Suing whispered in my ear, "It feels like his eyes are about to eat you up, baby, hurry up and go. If you don't go, the knives in his eyes will almost stab me to death." Suing gave me a gentle push and then turned around and ran away without being loyal. I could only muster up the courage to walk up to Zhao Yandong. I stood there obediently and spoke properly. "Brother, you were looking for me." I even used honorifics. I haven't been this obedient in 10 years combined from my 2 lifetimes. I hope Zhao Yandong can see my determination and sincerity. 15, however. Just like in my previous life, no matter how hard I tried, he couldn't treat me as intimately as an ordinary couple. It's the same now. Zhao Yandong is completely indifferent to my obedience and repentance. "Are you in a relationship?" Zhao Yandong's tone of voice was as calm as ever, and it was impossible to tell whether he was happy or angry. I summoned up the courage to look up at him and said, "Yes, we just confirmed our relationship today." Zhao Yandong seemed to let out a laugh. Just as I was about to heave a sigh of relief, he spoke again. And his voice was as cold as if it had been quenched in ice, making people's hearts tremble with coldness. Nan, does your new boyfriend know that you were still in my bed 3 days ago?" He slowly took a step forward and raised his hand to grip my chin. There were still a few patches of mottled hickeys on my slender neck, and Zhao Yandong's eyes suddenly narrowed. "How dare you go on a date with him with these hickeys on your body, brother?" I was greatly alarmed and said, "We were both drunk that night, it was just an accident." I said I would pretend that nothing happened, and I took the medicine as soon as possible. As I said this, my heart suddenly ached with soreness. Yes, things have changed in this life. I took the medicine and won't get pregnant again. In this world, there will never be a sweet and soft baby calling me mom again. When I was pregnant with Yang Yang in my previous life, my pregnancy was full of twists and turns. Later, I had an unexpected premature birth, and then I suddenly had amniotic fluid embolism during the operation. The doctors and nurses had to change my blood countless times before they could pull me back from the brink of death. Yang Yang was a precious baby that I risked my life for. Thinking of the things in my previous life and Yang Yang whom I would never see again, I felt as if my heart was being torn apart, and my eyes instantly turned red. 16. I don't know if the way I was about to cry made Zhao Yandong feel a bit of pity. He released his hand, and even his voice became a bit milder. "What kind of medicine did you take?" "An emergency contraceptive pill." I took a deep breath, holding back my tears, and forced a relaxed smile. It's better to avoid some unnecessary troubles as early as possible, just in case it delays you. This way, he could be with the girl he liked, thinking of Zhou Bijuan in both lifetimes. I felt a bit sour and a kind of indescribable discomfort in my heart. If I hadn't accidentally gotten pregnant, Zhou Bijuan should have married Zhao Yandong long ago, right? Delay me, Song Jianan. When you confessed to me at the age of 17, why didn't you think that it would cause me trouble? 3 days ago, when you got drunk and asked me to go to a hotel with you, why weren't you as rational as you are now? It was you who said you liked me and loved me and tried every means to sleep with me. Now it's also you who said it was just an accident and wants to distance yourself from me completely. Zhao Yandong sneered. You're so young but have no sense of shame and play with others at will. Song Jianan, have you learned all your upbringing in the Zhao family and thrown it to the dogs these years? I looked at him helplessly, not knowing how to defend myself. If I could be reborn a little earlier, then none of this would have happened, and we wouldn't have ended up in such an embarrassing situation now. But unfortunately, I had a relationship with him. From Zhao Yandong's perspective, I was indeed hopeless and really had no sense of shame. But how could I explain it to him? Who would believe it if I told them about being reborn? I know you hate me and don't like me. I also know that I woke up too late. But now that things have come to this, brother, tell me what I should do so that this matter can be put behind us. 17. Zhao Yandong raised his hand and loosened his tie. There was an indescribable restlessness and displeasure filling his chest. He clearly didn't like girls like Song Jianan. She was impulsive, bold, and always acted without thinking of the consequences. She was completely different from the gentle and decent girls in the Zhao family. None of his cousins or siblings had ever dared to be as unruly and disorganized as her. The first time she confessed to him at the age of 17, he was initially shocked, and in the end, he felt a bit of disgust and resistance. At that time, his relationship with Zhou Bijuan was still quite good, but ever since Song Jianan confessed to him, the situation started to change strangely. He deliberately distanced himself and avoided suspicion, but he couldn't help but keep an eye on everything about Song Jianan. Over the years, he had watched coldly, yet at the same time, he had morbidly enjoyed Song Jianan's persistent pursuit and entanglement despite repeated setbacks. On that night, somehow, he was bewitched by her and went to the hotel with her, and when she shamelessly pounced on him, he clearly wasn't drunk, but he still let the slight drunkenness consume him. He indulged himself and sank into it, but Song Jianan suddenly pushed him away. She even distanced herself from him without hesitation. She moved out of the Zhao family's house overnight, and then she simply started a relationship with a new boyfriend. But how could she, after having such an intimate relationship with him, just turn around and throw herself into the arms of another man? 18. When they were on a date today, did that man kiss her and hug her the way he did? Zhao Yandong felt that he was about to go crazy with jealousy, and when the word jealousy flashed through his mind, he was stunned for a few seconds. How could he be jealous of Song Jianan's boyfriend? He clearly didn't like her, but was it really true that he didn't like her? If he didn't like her, why did he kiss her and want her and not expose her clumsy tricks? If he didn't like her, why did he reject Zhou Bijuan's confession? If he didn't like her, why did he let her pester him all these years? Zhao Yandong always felt that something was wrong, but he couldn't quite figure out what it was. It was just that many times. He always had a strange feeling that there was some invisible force pulling him. Every time his relationship with Song Jianan was slightly improved, he would break her heart severely, and in the past, Song Jianan would always soothe herself quickly and come back again, but this time, it seemed that she really wanted to give up. When she looked at him with red eyes and on the verge of crying just now, Zhao Yandong never knew that his heart could also ache. The look in Song Jianan's eyes at that time was truly full of grief and despair, making people feel uncomfortable. He even really wanted to hold her tightly and comfort her, but the words that came out of his mouth always went against his original intention. In fact, he had never thought that she was shameless, nor did he ever think that there was anything wrong with her. Zhao Yandong didn't know why he had become such a contradictory and indecisive person that even he himself despised. But there was one thing he was certain of: he couldn't accept Song Jianan being with someone else. 19. I've already said it, break up with him. Why? You haven't graduated from university yet, you can't be in a relationship now. I felt like crying and laughing at the same time. Brother, is there such a rule in the Zhao family? Since you mentioned the Zhao family has raised you for so many years, can't you even be obedient about such a small thing? Since I could remember, Zhao Yandong seemed to be like this. He was naturally cold-hearted, and the younger generation in the family was afraid of him, but he happened to have a face that was most capable of bewitching people. When I was young and in my prime, he was in my dreams every time. If he was a little bit nicer to me once, I could be happy for a very long time. But it happened very rarely. He didn't like me much, he tolerated me, perhaps just because I was adopted by the Zhao family. He couldn't be as harsh on me as he was to other siblings. 20. Okay, I'll find an opportunity to make it clear to him. I'll break up with him first and get back together with him after I graduate from university. Anyway, a few months won't make a difference. I felt very tired. It's hard to stay sober and rational when facing someone you like, but this time, I had to be sober and rational enough to push him away forever. You're not allowed to get back together, Song Jianan. Zhao Yandong held my shoulders and gently pressed me against the car body. Brother, I widened my eyes and horrified and forgot to push him away, and the next second, Zhao Yandong suddenly lowered his head and gently kissed me. You're already mine, no one else can touch you except me. Nan Nan, remember every word I said today. 21. It had been a long time since Zhao Yandong's car drove away, and I still couldn't come back to my senses. In a trance, I had a strange premonition. Even though I was trying my best to avoid the tragedies of my previous life from happening, it seemed that there was still an invisible force, driving each of us to step onto the same path again, and at this moment, when the car drove out of the school gate, Zhao Yandong suddenly felt a sharp pain in the depths of his heart. His face showed pain, and he raised his hand to press against his chest, but the pain couldn't be contained, and a fishy sweetness welled up in his throat. When the driver was so shocked that he suddenly braked to a stop, Zhao Yandong turned his head and spat out a mouthful of blood. The smell of blood filled the entire car, and the driver's voice was trembling. Mr. Zhao, I'll take you to the hospital right away. but Zhao Yandong pressed against his heart, which felt numb, and waited until the pain subsided. Then he said hoarsely, "No need, take me back, Mr. Zhao. I'm much better now." "Take me back first." Zhao Yandong frowned deeply. He was such a wise and almost demonic person, he had faintly sensed that something was strange. However, he needed to verify his speculations and thoughts again. 22. On the weekend, as soon as Su Ying and I returned to her rental house, Zhao Yandong suddenly called, "Nan Nan, where are you now?" "I'm at Su Ying's house. I'll come to pick you up later." "Brother, do you have something to talk to me about?" "Yes, I do." I hesitated for a moment but still agreed. "Okay. I'll wait for you at Su Ying's house." As soon as the call ended, Su Ying dragged me into her cloakroom, pick out a dress and change into it. I shook my head. "Su Ying, there's really no need for this. I've already made things clear with my brother. Come on, Linley likes men and asked you to be a shield in front of his parents. You can just use him as a shield to deceive Zhao Yandong. You clearly still like him in your heart, and he, ever since you two slept together, has obviously changed his attitude towards you. Why don't you strike while the iron is hot? The fruit of a forced twist is not sweet." He is a responsible man. Maybe he just thinks that since it was my first time, he should take responsibility. I was a bit listless. I didn't know if it was due to my emotions or other reasons. Anyway, I felt very uncomfortable and couldn't muster up any energy at all. Su Ying was a bit frustrated. "Come on, Song Jianan. Do you think a high IQ man like Zhao Yandong at the top of the pyramid, if he doesn't want to jump into those so-called traps, schemes, and pitfalls, who can make him do it? And as for so-called responsibility, he has 1,000 ways to solve your problem. Why does he have to take responsibility for you?" He didn't say he would take responsibility for me either. I covered my lower abdomen and thought dazedly. In my previous life, it was because I was pregnant that he married me as soon as I graduated. The wealthy attach great importance to bloodlines. Maybe this is the most important reason why he would take responsibility, but no matter what the reason was, Zhao Yandong treated me and Yang extremely well. He was a good husband and a good father. "Nan Nan, I always feel that you've been very strange these days. Are you hiding something from me?" Su Ying touched my forehead. "You don't look well either. Are you feeling unwell?" I shook my head. "I'm fine. I'll be okay after adjusting for a few days." Su Ying was still worried. "I always feel like you've become a different person. You're not noisy or lively anymore. You're so well behaved that it makes people uncomfortable. People always have to grow up." I hugged Su Ying and shook her gently. In both lifetimes, she was my best friend. No matter what I did, Su Ying always supported me wholeheartedly. She was just so warm-hearted and loyal. It's a pity that I died too early and didn't know what happened to Su Ying later. 23. When Zhao Yandong arrived downstairs, he called me. I went downstairs and got into the car, but he didn't say what it was about. He just took me to my favorite restaurant. Then I was surprised to find that Zhao Yandong knew my preferences like the back of his hand. Moreover, throughout the meal, he was extremely gentle and considerate towards me. If it hadn't been for meeting Zhou Bijuan at the end, tonight would definitely have been the most wonderful night in my 21-year life. I wasn't wearing a beautiful dress, and because I wasn't feeling well, I didn't even put on much makeup, but Zhou Bijuan was dazzlingly beautiful. She was wearing a Chinese-style dress, and that concentric jade pendant was tied to her belt. When she appeared in the restaurant with that handsome and dashing man, almost all the men were secretly looking at her. I secretly paid attention to Zhao Yandong. He didn't look at Zhou Bijuan, and his expression didn't change either. I thought about it and attributed it to the fact that Zhou Bijuan had brought a male friend with her. Zhao Yandong remained calm on the surface, but he was probably seething with jealousy inside. Otherwise, how could he not even glance at someone he knew? There must be something wrong when things are abnormal. But although Zhao Yandong didn't look at her, Zhou Bijuan took the initiative to come over and greet us. "Yandong. What a coincidence, you're having dinner with your sister." Zhao Yandong just nodded indifferently. "Nan Nan likes this restaurant." The smile on Zhou Bijuan's face seemed to freeze for a moment. It took her a while to say, "I also really like this restaurant. As soon as I returned to the country, I've been thinking about coming here to eat the fish." Zhao Yandong didn't reply. Instead, he just asked me, "Are you full?" I nodded. Zhao Yandong then called the waiter to settle the bill. Zhou Bijuan stood there feeling a bit awkward. The beauty with red eyes was even more pitiful. I couldn't even bear to watch it, but Zhao Yandong directly stood up and told me to leave, saying, "Take your time, Yandong and I are going back first." "Yandong." Zhou Bijuan murmured his name. Zhao Yandong didn't look back. Instead, he grabbed my arm and said, "Watch the way." I followed him out of the restaurant in a daze and entered the elevator. My mind was in a complete mess. It took me a long time to sort out some thoughts. He must have pulled me on purpose, deliberately to make Zhou Bijuan jealous. There was no other reason for him to do this. 24. However, we had already reached the underground parking lot. Zhao Yandong still showed no sign of letting go of his hand. "Brother." As soon as I called out, Zhao Yandong exerted a little more force with his hand and directly pulled me into his arms. The next second, he lowered his head and kissed me again. And this kiss was deeper and more forceful than the one at school that day. Zhao Yandong didn't let me go until I was almost out of breath, but he didn't say anything. He just gently wiped the moisture from the corner of my mouth and said, "Let the driver take you back." I was a bit stunned. He hadn't been drinking, and when he came to pick me up, he was clearly the one driving, but my heart still accepted it with a sour feeling. Perhaps he was going to wait for Zhou Bijuan. I didn't say anything and obediently got into another car. When the car drove out of the underground parking lot, I couldn't help but look back, but there, Zhao Yandong's figure was already gone. 25. Leaning against the wall, Zhao Yandong stared at the pool of blood on the ground. This time, the pain came more violently, and he almost couldn't hold on until Song Jianan got into the car and left. And after spitting out this mouthful of blood, the unbearable pain disappeared. Previously, Zhao Yandong went to his own private hospital for a physical examination alone. He especially had his heart examined, but the examination report showed that his physical condition was very good. There was nothing abnormal with his heart. 2 hours later, Zhao Yandong saw today's physical examination report again in the doctor's office. There was still nothing abnormal. But what on earth caused such sudden angina pectoris and spitting of blood? He drove back to his private residence. He asked all the servants to leave and turned off all communication tools. He needed an independent and quiet space. He wanted to carefully think about all the things that had happened over the years. He started thinking from the day when Song Jianan confessed to him on her 17th birthday. He wouldn't miss any clue. 26. After Zhao Yandong took me out for a meal that day, we completely cut off all contact with each other. However, there was also no news of him getting back together with Zhou Bijuan in the circle. After getting through the initial pain and suffering, I finally seemed to completely accept this reality, but I didn't expect that the change would come so suddenly. When Suing was awakened by my groans, it was already late at night. She turned on the light while calling my name, "Nan Nan." Suing was so scared that she started crying directly. At that time I was curled up on the bed in pain, and the blood gushing out from below had already stained the snow-white bed sheets. I was taken to the hospital by an ambulance. The nurse directly pushed me, who had lost too much blood and was in a state of shock, into the emergency room. In my previous life, I encountered amniotic fluid embolism, which had a probability of 1 in 100,000. But fortunately, I had a lot of money and the best and top-notch medical resources, so I managed to survive against all odds. In this life, I had clearly worked hard, but the development of the situation still seemed to be out of control. I took the contraceptive pill, but it led to an ectopic pregnancy. The embryo ruptured, causing unbearable abdominal pain, massive bleeding, and I went into a coma due to shock. If Suing hadn't woken up that night, I didn't know what the final result would be. After waking up, I couldn't help but think in my mind, was it possible that this life would still end up the same way? No matter how hard I tried, I would still die prematurely in the end, maybe in a car accident or due to some other sudden accident. And was all of this a punishment from heaven for my past absurdity and ignorance when I was young? However, I had been desperately trying to control myself. Desperately trying to control myself to stay away from Zhao Yandong and stop loving him. When Zhao Yandong came to see me, I didn't want him to see me crying like a weakling, so I pretended to be asleep. Zhao Yandong seemed to have stood by my bedside for a very long time. My body was about to become stiff, and my legs were numb. Then he bent down, gently tucked in the quilt for me, and turned to leave the ward. The sound of the door closing was very soft, but my tears suddenly burst out like a dam breaking. 27. After being discharged from the hospital, Mrs. Zhao took me back to the Zhao family. After raising a child for almost 20 years, she still felt sorry for me in the end. The people in the Zhao family were all very nice, but the nicer they were, the more it showed my despicability. My body was getting better day by day. I also started planning for the future, getting certificates, and finding a good and stable job. Being able to support myself and gradually repay these people who loved me, that would make me satisfied. As for other things, I didn't have the energy to think about them. On the day I finished my confinement after the miscarriage, Suing kept calling me on voice chat. When I came back from a walk and just picked up my phone to answer, I heard Su Ying's urgent voice. Nan Nan, have you seen the news? What happened? Zhao Yandong and Zhou Bijuan had a public falling out. A falling out? Why? Because of a piece of jade, that very famous Hetian white jade concentric pendant. Do you still remember it? Of course I remembered. Zhou Bijuan posted it on her Moments, the one that Zhao Yandong carefully held in his hands. She was a very famous antique restorer. That jade pendant with a history of 1,000 years was restored by her own hands. Since then, Zhou Bijuan had become famous. Nan Nan, just now, Zhao Yandong smashed this piece of jade. I was stunned. Suing, what did you say? The value of this piece of jade was inestimable. A renowned cultural relic collector had once offered a sky-high price of 1 billion yuan for it. I don't know what got into Zhao Yandong. First, he bought this piece of jade, and then he smashed it on the spot. Su Ying's voice was full of disbelief. Nan Nan, how rich is your brother exactly? 28. I randomly clicked on the videos online. All kinds of heated discussions were already boiling and noisy. Every app push was the top trending topic. But Zhao Yandong must have done something because almost all the videos of the scene had been deleted. It took me a long time to find a few blurry pictures. That white jade pendant that he had once carefully held in his hands and cherished, it was shattered on the ground. Zhou Bijuan obviously couldn't accept it and shed tears on the spot. She knelt on the ground and cried so pitifully that it made people feel sorry for her. But Zhao Yandong's expression was very cold. He stood there, looking tall and elegant in a black suit, but his handsome face was like an iceberg that could never be melted. There was a terrifying chill emanating from his whole body. I had never seen him with such a serious expression. I didn't even dare to look directly at the picture. Just then, my phone suddenly rang. The name flashing on the screen was Brother, 29. I was sitting in the car, next to Zhao Yandong. The car drove smoothly forward and finally stopped outside a luxurious store. Nan Nan. Zhao Yandong took my hand and said, the time is tight, let's buy a pair of couple rings first. Couple rings? I was completely confused, but Zhao Yandong smiled and bent down to kiss me. The wedding rings have already been designed by the designer. I want to go to the international auction house abroad to select the diamonds myself. I know that a bought ring doesn't show enough sincerity, but Nan Nan, I want to marry you. And I can't wait for even a single day, brother. I don't understand, I don't get it. I was still confused. The man in front of me was the one I had liked since I was 16 years old. He had made me cry, laugh, and suffer. But I still loved him. However, the him standing in front of me at this moment seemed so unfamiliar. His eyes were only looking at me. The way he smiled at me was more tender than I had ever seen. He seemed to love me very, very much. But how could Zhao Yandong love Song Jianan? My tears welled up unconsciously, and I took a step back in a daze. Don't lie to me, brother. Don't play with me like this. I'll take it seriously. I shook my head, laughed, and then cried again. Zhao Yandong, we can't get married. We can't be together. I didn't want to die, and I didn't want to ruin his life either. Nan Nan. Do you still remember that you once studied antique restoration with Mr. Su? I immediately covered my ears. I don't remember. I don't remember anything. That was my most painful memory. I deceived myself and didn't want to mention it or recall it. I think Mr. Su also didn't want to remember it again. The beloved apprentice he personally recruited in the end would become a joke. Zhao Yandong held my hand, and his expression was very serious. Song Jianan, you were Mr. Su's most proud student. You shouldn't give up on yourself. The injury on your hand has long since healed. It won't affect every movement of yours when you restore cultural relics. No, you don't understand. Zhao Yandong, you don't understand at all. It wasn't just the injury, everything had changed. I couldn't control that change. It was like a person who had some talent in a certain field, watching helplessly as their talent was lost overnight but being powerless to do anything about it. That feeling was too painful. I never wanted to recall it a second time in my life. I know, Nan Nan, I know everything. Zhao Yandong held my hand and pulled me into his arms. He gently stroked my back and comforted me tenderly and patiently. It's all over, Nan Nan. The plot of our story should return to the original right track. 30. What was the original right track like? She was adopted by the kind-hearted Mrs. Zhao when she was still in swaddling clothes. She grew up carefree until she was 16 years old. Mr. Su, who had a very close relationship with the Zhao family, accidentally discovered her amazing talent for antique restoration. At the age of 17, she was specially recruited into University B and became Mr. Su's favorite student. She was beautiful, intelligent, and diligent, willing to work hard. At just over 20 years old, she restored a national treasure antique of amazing value. Since then, she became famous and shone brightly. She even became a pearl of the Zhao family and Mrs. Zhao's proudest daughter. At the age of 24, she married her childhood sweetheart and elder brother, Zhao Yandong. After marriage, the couple loved each other deeply and had a son and a daughter. They were truly an example envied by everyone and were in love for a lifetime. Finally, they lived to the age of 90 and passed away of natural causes. They had a large family with many descendants, and all of them were intelligent and promising. The Zhao family was prosperous and flourishing, and it thrived from generation to generation. The real ending of the story was as perfect as it could be. However, in the previous life, the husband and wife were separated by life and death. In this lifetime, he would never let the same tragedy happen again. That concentric pendant that he personally smashed, if it hadn't been destroyed by him at this moment, then, in the near future, it would be restored by its true owner, his wife, Song Jianan. When she started restoring this concentric pendant back then, she was accidentally injured on her hand. After the injury healed, she lost the talent and ability that she was most proud of. In the end, she became an ordinary person, and this jade pendant, by a twist of fate, was restored by Zhou Bijuan, which made her gain great fame. It also led to the tragedy of their whole life, so this time, he destroyed the jade pendant, corrected the plot, and prevented that yet to happen tragedy. Perhaps it was the mercy of heaven. In this second life, she had the memories of her previous life, and he, after her rebirth, began to be frequently reminded by a strange dream. 31. He had never experienced such pain in his life. In that strange dream, he married Song Jianan, and they had a very cute and well-behaved son, but in the 5th year of their marriage, Song Jianan was stabbed 17 times in an accident, and each stab was fatal. When he rushed to the scene, she had already died, and almost all the blood in her body had flowed out, but only that face that always smiled brightly at him was intact. He walked over like a walking corpse. He knelt on the ground and tremblingly picked up her broken body, but his movements were extremely gentle, as if the bloody mass in his arms was all his treasure. The police, doctors, and nurses all arrived at the scene. They tried to pull him away, but it was all in vain. Finally, Zhou Bijuan came. Yandong, you can't be like this. Come with me quickly. If you continue like this, you'll die. He didn't understand why. Zhou Bijuan cried and said, Yandong, listen to me. I love you, and I won't harm you. We were meant to be a perfect match. Song Jianan is dead. She deserved it. Now the plot should return to the right track. You love me, Yandong. I'm the one who will finally marry you and have children for you. But he pushed Zhou Bijuan away fiercely. I have only one wife, in this life, the next life, and for all eternity. I have only one wife, he murmured and continued to kneel on the ground, carefully picking up her drooping hand. The wedding ring was still on her ring finger. She had never taken it off. She still loved him deeply until her death. For the first time in his life, Zhao Yandong shed tears. Those burning tears fell in big drops on her face and her broken body. His heart started to ache, and he spat out blood mouthful by mouthful. In the end, it even gushed out. Holding a white jade pendant, Zhou Bijuan kept murmuring, why is this happening? You clearly promised me that all the plot would go as I planned, but why doesn't he still love me? Zhao Yandong, Zhao Yandong. Zhou Bijuan crawled on her knees from the ground and tried to take off the wedding ring on his ring finger. Take off the ring, Zhao Yandong. Forget her, please, Zhao Yandong. Forget her, or you'll die. But her body was pushed away heavily again. Zhao Yandong was covered in blood as he held Song Jianan, who had already passed away. The two hands wearing their wedding rings were tightly clasped together. Blood spurted out from his mouth and nose, and his heart seemed to be breaking piece by piece, but he couldn't feel the pain. No matter how much pain he felt, could it be as painful as what Nan Nan had endured? It was only at this moment that he finally saw his own heart clearly. And it was also only at this moment that those invisible things that had controlled him were completely pulled out of his life. He finally understood that he had always been in love with her, even though the setting was like that in a script, which always made him lose control. But the heart that loves someone can never be fake. In his dream, he watched himself die. If there is a next life, if there is an afterlife, he will make her the happiest woman in the whole world, the happiest wife. 32. Zhao Yandong left. Zhou Bijuan was still kneeling on the ground, looking dazed. She didn't understand. Clearly, she was the female protagonist in the story. Clearly, she had stolen all of Song Jian'an's good fortune. She became increasingly beautiful and dazzling, intelligent and sharp. She learned everything quickly and proficiently, and was surrounded and envied wherever she went. And Song Jian'an, who was originally full of vitality, gradually became mediocre. In the end, she changed from Mr. Su's most proud student to a stain that no one wanted to talk about. Zhao Yandong should have reasonably pursued her and then married her. Song Jian'an would have become an overly confident and whimsical woman, a cannon fodder who shamelessly pestered Zhao Yandong but was rejected by him. In the end, she would be driven out of the Zhao family and spend her life in a muddled and crazy state. But Zhou Bijuan just couldn't figure it out. Why did Zhao Yandong still like Song Jian'an? Why was he still involuntarily attracted to her? Why, even though she was standing right in front of him, shining brightly, there was only the mediocre Song Jian'an in his eyes? Clearly, it was she who had restored this jade pendant. Clearly, the story of each of them was supposed to proceed according to her plan. But why did the plot still get out of control, now that the jade was broken? Those fragments were taken away by Zhao Yandong. They would once again fall into Song Jian'an's hands. And the story would once again return to its starting point. Everything was over, but everything would also start anew. Zhou Bijuan slumped to the ground in despair. She stared at the already empty gate, and finally, the tears in her eyes fell. So, is it true that what doesn't belong to you can't last forever even if you snatch it? Perhaps one day in the future, she will have an epiphany. The real female protagonist would never take things from innocent people, and from the moment she had those evil thoughts, she no longer deserved to be the female protagonist of this story. 33. It took me a whole month to restore that concentric jade pendant again. My hands were still a bit rusty, but most of that confident feeling from the past seemed to have returned. I think it won't be long before I can continue doing the thing I love the most, and currently, the most urgent matter is the upcoming wedding between me and Zhao Yandong. He was like a completely different person, gentle, patient, and clingy. We spent most of the day together, but Zhao Yandong still thought it wasn't enough. Every time he went on a business trip, he would take me with him. Suing was quite jealous of this. And the number of times we were together after marriage could be counted on the fingers of one hand, and every time I went out for less than 2 hours, Zhao Yandong couldn't wait to come and pick me up. Later, though, Zhao Yandong and I held a Chinese-style wedding. I asked Suing to be my only bridesmaid. I also gave her a big red envelope with a 6-figure amount and arranged for 10 extremely handsome guys to accompany her to eat, drink, and have fun, so Suing wasn't angry with me anymore. Also, this concentric jade pendant was decorated on my wedding dress. On our wedding night, both Zhao Yandong and I were very tired. I was tired from the weight of the phoenix coronet and embroidered dress, while Zhao Yandong was simply insatiable. It was as if he wanted to make up for all that he had owed in the previous life, doubling it back. In the end, he held me tightly and we slept with our necks intertwined. That night, we had the exact same dream. In the dream, Yang Yang was flying in the sky on a beautiful little white horse. He said, "Mom, I've been waiting for a long time and searching for a long time. Many people wanted to be my mom, but I looked carefully, and none of them were as good as you. I still want you to be my mom, but this time, Mom will have to work a little harder because I'm coming back to find you with my little sister." Story 2. When Lu Jincheng was blinded by a car while saving his beloved, his friends and family gradually abandoned him. Only I stayed by his side, devoting 6 years to pulling him out of the abyss, only to overhear on the day I found out I was pregnant, his brother questioning him about secretly marrying Bai Yuiguang while still being with me. Holding a cigarette casually in his hand, Lu Jincheng replied indifferently, "Su Wanyue is easy to deceive. As long as you all keep quiet, she will never find out." At that moment, I felt like my 6 years of dedication had turned into a joke. When I received the pregnancy report from the doctor, Lu Jincheng had disappeared. Eager to share the good news with him, I searched everywhere, only to accidentally find him chatting with his brother on the rooftop. His brother was saying, "Back when you were blinded in the accident and gave up on yourself, it was Su Wanyue who stayed by your side and helped you through the tough times, gradually getting you back on track. Yet you secretly married Jiang Xian without telling her. Aren't you afraid of how hurt she'll be when she finds out?" My heart skipped a beat, and I instinctively withdrew the step I was about to take, doubting whether I had heard wrong. After all, Lu Jincheng and I had just celebrated our first wedding anniversary, and I had just successfully conceived. However, After a brief silence, Lu Jincheng spoke nonchalantly, "Don't worry. I won't let Wanyue find out." "How long do you think you can keep this a secret?" His brother seemed not to support his actions. "Ah Chen, when you went blind trying to save Jiang Xian in that accident, she didn't even offer a greeting and left you at your most painful moment to go abroad with another man. What about this woman makes her so indispensable to marry?" Xin didn't do it on purpose," Lu Jincheng suddenly interjected softly, his tone tinged with bitterness. "She had her difficulties. If it weren't for me, her parents wouldn't have forced her to go abroad with another man. I promised to marry her and I won't go back on my word. As for Wanyue, she's very naive, very easy to deceive. As long as you don't tell her, she'll never find out the marriage certificate is fake. I'll treat her well in the future. I'll make it up to her." I couldn't listen anymore to what they said next. Under the setting sun, Lu Jincheng remained as upright and handsome as ever, elegant and distinguished. Yet a stranger from beginning to end. Just an hour ago, he was still tenderly holding my waist, hoping that my recent poor appetite was due to pregnancy, hoping that I could bear him a child. Now he was saying our marriage certificate was fake. I clenched the pregnancy report in my trembling hands, feeling weak all over, my mind buzzing with noise. Unaware of when it started, the sky began pouring rain. I walked aimlessly in the rain, feeling the cold of summer for the first time. My body was numb with chill, and my lower abdomen hurt so much that I lost sensation. I am an orphan, having faced cold stares and bullying since childhood. In my first year of high school, when I was cornered and bullied by a group of girls in an alley, it was the passing Lu Jincheng who rescued me. He was young and still a stranger back then, yet he was like a beam of light illuminating my entire future. In that moment, I secretly harbored a crush on him. Becoming just another girl among the many who admired him, I was fully aware of the gulf between us, and I also heard about a girl he liked named Jiang Xian. For years, I dared not hope for more, nor did I ever disturb him, until 6 years ago, when I accidentally learned of his accident and heard from friends how he couldn't accept his blindness, locking himself in his room day and night, smoking and drinking, alienating not just friends but also family. Even his own parents had given up on him. When I saw him in the other garden, he was slumped on the damp, cold floor, utterly broken. He threw things at me, cursed me, and tried to drive me away, just as he did with others, but I didn't back down. He had once brought light into my life, and I was determined to return that light to him, to help him escape from that cold, damp place. Perhaps it was my sincerity and resilience that moved him. From his initial strong resistance, he gradually adapted and began to recover. Slowly emerging from his low point, our relationship warmed over days and nights spent together. The day he was wheeled into the surgery room, he was visibly moved and grabbed my hand. Yeah, once my eyes are better, let's get married." Okay. With tears in my eyes, I nodded. "Whether your eyes get better or not, we'll get married." The surgery was a success. His eyes regained their sight, and he didn't break his promise. He immediately took me to get our marriage certificate. Aside from being somewhat absent-minded that day, I didn't notice anything unusual. Over the past 6 years, I had been with him through his lowest points, helped him out of difficulties, and accompanied him as he climbed back to the peak of his life. In the end, it was all overshadowed by a mere glance at the past. Returning to the Banshan villa, as I stepped inside, Mrs. Lu sat on the sofa as she often did, her well-maintained face wearing its usual disdain upon seeing me. Before she could speak, I took the initiative. "Mrs. Lu, I accept your terms." Mrs. Lu had never looked favorably upon me, nor had she accepted me, an orphan, as a suitable daughter-in-law for the Lu family. Throughout this year, I endured her public and private humiliations, her threats and temptations, all with a smile, because I loved Jinchen Lu. I didn't want to cause any conflict between him and Mrs. Lu. "What did you say? You agree to take 50 million and leave the Lu family?" Mrs. Lu looked incredulous. "Yes, I agree. 6 years of youth traded for deceit. I saw no reason to stay." Mrs. Lu's furrowed brow relaxed, her relief mixed with scorn. "Suyue, at least you have some sense. Since you've made up your mind, I'll transfer the money to your account tomorrow. I hope you can leave Jiangqing within a month." "No need for a month. If I expedite the paperwork, 20 days will be enough." After Mrs. Lu left, I went back to my room and took a hot bath. When I emerged, I received a call from Jinchen Lu. He was as gentle as ever. "Honey, why did you go back alone? Did you get the medical report?" "The doctor said it's nothing serious, so I came back first." Touching my abdomen, which had been in pain all night, I tried to suppress my sadness. That's good. Jean Chenlu didn't notice anything was off. Honey, there's an urgent matter at the company. I might need to go on a business trip for a few days. Okay, take care. Also, I placed our anniversary gift on the bedside table. Let me know if you like it. Okay, honey, I love you. Rest early. Jean Chenlu. How could he sound so tender and loving when telling lies? I wiped away my tears, looking at the velvet box on the table. He didn't mention it, and I almost forgot. Today is our first wedding anniversary. Inside the box is a gold bracelet with jade inlay. I remember this bracelet. I had admired it in a brochure of an international jewelry company last month. Unexpectedly, Lu Jincheng bought it. Less than 10 minutes after hanging up the phone, someone tagged me on social media, and when I opened it, it was a post from Jiang Xian visible only to me. Today is a special day, we got married. Photo 1, a blurred marriage certificate showing only the surnames. Photo 2, two hands wearing wedding rings tightly held together. Photo 3, a gold bracelet with jade inlay just like mine. Marked as wedding gift. Turns out, Lu Jincheng didn't just buy one of these bracelets. Turns out today is their wedding day. Numbly, I liked the post, took a screenshot, and logged out of WeChat. The second day Lu Jincheng was on a business trip, I turned on my phone, found myself tagged in social media again. This time it was just one photo, a distinguished man standing at the kitchen island carefully making breakfast. His familiar upright figure. Caption, my husband, tired from working all night. Still got up early to make me breakfast. I'm so lucky. I never knew Lu Jincheng could cook, yet in all these years, he never even boiled noodles for me. Turns out there's a difference between true love and feigned love. I followed the routine, liked the post, took a screenshot, and logged out of WeChat. Then I left the house, went to the hospital I had booked in advance for an abortion. The doctor asked me 3 times if I really wanted to terminate the pregnancy, lying on the cold operating table. I touched the fake marriage certificate in my pocket, closed my eyes, letting tears run down my cheeks. I didn't want to give up this child, but I couldn't let my life rot away because of it. In the hands of a scoundrel, I nodded decisively, as the embryo turned into a pool of blood and drained from my body. My heart was completely empty. The third day Lu Jincheng was on a business trip. Jiang Xian's social media showed the two on a beach vacation, their figures hand in hand strolling under the sunset. The romance nearly spilling out of the screen. Meanwhile, I, dragging my weakened body after the abortion, hurriedly processed my paperwork to go abroad. The fourth day Lu Jincheng was on a business trip. Jiang Xian's social media was punctually updated. On a 2-meter-wide bed, the two of them embraced in sleep. The man's deep features tinted by the morning sun looked exceptionally handsome, with Jiang Xian lying in his arms, flashing a victory sign at the camera, and I started packing my bags. My luggage wasn't much, but over the last 6 years, Lu Jincheng had given me many gifts, large and small, those once treasured photos together, various small gifts. Now, they seemed ironic. I sorted out the valuable ones, the cheap ones, along with the fake marriage certificate and pregnancy report, I threw into a fire pit to burn. As I tossed a portrait that took me 2 months to complete into the fire, Lu Jincheng just happened to come back. He instinctively reached out to grab it, but was scorched by the flames and jerked his hand back. Wife, why are you burning the painting? He was still wearing the suit he had on when he left that day, his hair slightly disheveled, looking like he had been busy working until now, but the faint kiss marks under his shirt collar betrayed him harshly. I suddenly remembered, since Jiang Xian returned to the country last month, he had been busy like this several times. Each time, I would tenderly make him breakfast, and he would always hold me, kissing my forehead, saying, the best yaya in the world, I will love you forever. And every time, I would get lost in his sweet nothings, never doubting. The painting was ruined when I was cleaning, so I had no choice but to burn it. But you spent 2 whole months on that painting, even damaged. It was valuable. He looked at me with regret in his eyes. It's okay. I can paint another one when I have time, just don't overwork yourself. He examined me closely, then pinched my cheek. Honey, why do I feel like you've lost weight and look somewhat haggard? Is your stomach acting up again? I'm fine. Not wanting him to discover the secret of my recent abortion, I feigned calmness and acted coquettishly towards him. It's just that I've been missing you lately, since you weren't around. I'm sorry, honey, I've been really busy lately. He held me close, his heart aching for me. Using the most intimate language, he spoke the most trivial lies. The distance closed between us. The kiss marks under the collar of his shirt became increasingly visible. I almost threw up. To avoid arousing his suspicion, I suppressed my nausea. You must be exhausted these days. Why don't you go to the room and rest? Okay, he affectionately stroked my hair. Do you have plans tonight? I can take you to see a movie. There's a new art film that just came out. Sure, let's meet up tonight. In the afternoon, I went for a follow-up check at the gynecologist. I managed to collect all the reports before the office closed. They showed the abortion was successful. It was as if the child had been here and yet never had been. Like a small stone that briefly stirred my heart and then slowly settled down. In the evening, I met Lu Jinchen at the cinema. He curiously noticed the papers in my hand. Honey, what's that? Without a change in expression, I stuffed the papers into my bag. Just some test results I hadn't collected last time. I picked them up on the way. Why didn't you tell me to come with you to the hospital? Why must it be you who accompanies me? After all, you won't be in my future. Because you've been too busy and tired recently. I smiled at him. Lu Jinchen sighed softly and embraced me lovingly. Honey, I've indeed been busy with work, but I'll always make time for you whenever you need me. I stiffened in his embrace. A cold laugh spread from the depths of my heart. Whether he was busy with work or busy spending a honeymoon with his old flame, only he knew for sure. In the past, when he spoke such sweet nothings, I would have immediately hugged him tightly, kissed him, and told him I wanted to be with him forever. But today, Ah Chen, Mrs. Lu, what a coincidence. Suddenly, a playful voice came from behind. I turned around. There stood Jiang Xian, not far away, wearing a deep V-neck red dress and her chestnut curly hair softly cascading around her, looking sexy and beautiful in the crowd. She looked at me, a smile in her eyes, but with a barely noticeable provocation hidden within. A month ago, I met her once at Lu Corporation. At that time, I didn't know her purpose for returning to the country, and added her on WeChat after she took the initiative to be friendly. I glanced at Lu Jinchen beside me. Perhaps even he did not realize that the moment Jiang Xian appeared, he instinctively let go of me. Jiang Xian, what are you doing here? I came to see the new movie. Are you guys fans too? He asked. Yeah, my wife loves it, Lu Jinchen replied, his initial panic replaced by a calm demeanor, emphasizing the word wife to subtly warn Jiang Xian not to play with fire. Jiang Xian's face visibly paled, and she bit her lip. I'm really envious of Mrs. Lu, having her husband accompany her to the movies. You'll have that too, someday. Lu Jinchen avoided her gaze, pretending they were no longer close. Then he affectionately said to me, wife, let's go inside. I nodded. Under the dim lights, Jiang Xian's face turned even paler. Not long after the movie started, Lu Jinchen's phone began to light up continuously. He glanced at it and then dismissed the call. I pretended not to notice and continued to focus on the movie until he excused himself to go to the restroom. Only then did I take my eyes off the big screen and pick up my phone, just in time to see a message from Jiang Xian. Mrs. Lu, what's so good about a movie? Why not come to the restroom, and I'll show you something explosive. I went as she suggested. Arriving at the restroom at the end of the mall, a deep warning voice echoed from a stall. How many times have I told you not to show up in front of Su Wanyue? Why not? She's just a home wrecker, a mistress, while I am your rightful wife. Jiang Xian protested. Shut up, Wanyue is not a mistress. Everyone in the circle knows she went to that garden to look after you just to climb up the social ladder. And you're the only one protecting her. Jiang Xian, have you forgotten our agreement? Jiang Xian paused, then started to act coquettishly. I haven't forgotten, I just missed you. Don't you miss me at all? Look at yourself, you obviously want me too. His reproach quickly turned into a low groan. Shadows moved. He pressed her heavily against the door. You little temptress, you're going to be the death of me. You were the one who said Su Wanyue is easy to deceive. Anyway, you can't be so reckless next time. And don't dress so provocatively. Got it? Ah, honey, be gentle. Amidst the moans, Jiang Xian's red dress fell to the floor, like a blooming blood-red rose. I tightened my grip on my phone, struggling not to break down. Back in the car, I sent Lu Jinchen a message saying I had to go home early. I sat in the car, calming myself for a long time before starting the engine. Just as I drove off, a figure suddenly darted in front of the car and crashed into the front. I was startled and quickly got out to check, when I heard a familiar gasp nearby. Xin. It was Lu Jinchen. He forcefully pushed me aside. I staggered, hitting my forehead hard against the car. It hurt, but he didn't spare me a second glance. Instead, he quickly picked up Jiang Xian from the ground. Xin, how are you? Jiang Xian's face was deathly pale, her trembling hand covered in blood reaching out to me. Su Wanyue, I already explained to you. I broke up with Chen a long time ago. Why did you still try to harm me? I was speechless. This woman was really willing to hurt herself to frame me, and Lu Jincheng believed her. He glared at me, completely ignoring the swelling on my forehead from the impact. Su Wanyue, how can you be so malicious? There were no surveillance cameras here. I didn't have a dash cam either. I was at a loss for words, but I still wanted to defend myself. Lu Jincheng, get it clear, who is the one losing their mind? Jincheng. It hurts so much, Jiang Xian sobbed, interrupting me. Lu Jincheng didn't want to hear another word from me. He tenderly picked her up from the ground. Su Wanyue, if anything happens to Xin, you'll have to pay with your life. He coldly threw out those words. He quickly walked towards his car. Jiang Xian peeked out from under his arm, mouthing at me, Mrs. Lu, you lose again. I laughed. Did I lose? But I no longer love this man who can't distinguish right from wrong. I was originally supposed to send the video I took in the restroom to Lu Jincheng. But I held back. I didn't want any unexpected issues to arise with my plans to go abroad. I just wanted to spend these last 20 days in peace. I went to the hospital alone to treat my wound, went home alone, slept alone, even in my dreams. I was alone, abandoned by loved ones, betrayed by a lover, lost in a vast crowd without a place to call my own. That night, I did not sleep well. When I woke up, I found Lu Jincheng sitting at the foot of my bed. Warm sunlight streamed in from the floor-to-ceiling window, casting fragmented shadows over him. His eyes, looking at me, were filled with the usual tender affection. My wife, you're awake. His slender fingers touched my forehead. I'm sorry, I lost control last night. Does it still hurt? It doesn't hurt. I sat up slowly and looked at him. Why would he, who hadn't come home all night, come back early in the morning to apologize? Had he finally realized his mistake? But it turned out he hadn't. Yeah, I broke up with Jiang Xian 6 years ago. We're just friends now. You didn't need to do something so dangerous because of her. He paused, seeing that I didn't respond. He continued, Jiang Xian is a pianist. Her hands are her life and livelihood, and now they're injured because of your impulsive act. So, he still believed Jiang Xian's words, still thought I had intentionally bumped into her. In his heart, I was that vile and despicable. My hands clenched tightly under the blanket. I stared at him steadily. So, what now? He stumbled over my question, his gaze shifting slightly. So, I hope you can apologize to her, and we can put this behind us. He wanted me to apologize to that woman. I almost laughed out of anger. Did she ask for this? Lu Jincheng fell silent. Silence meant consent. It seemed Jiang Xian was deliberately provoking me. Yeah, I know you did it because you love me too much, but... Lu Jincheng, I cut him off lightly. Let me ask you, do you really understand me as a person? What do you mean? Do you really believe that I intentionally bumped into her? Yeah, nobody jokes with their own life. He frowned. He didn't believe me at all. In that case, there was nothing more I could explain. Lu Jincheng, I'll say it again. I didn't intentionally bump into her, and I won't apologize. You should leave. Su Wanyue. He called out my full name with a heavy tone. The last time he used my full name was when he was blinded. He pushed me away in panic, curling up and saying, Su Wanyue, everyone else has abandoned me. Can you please not care about me too? I stumbled and fell to the ground. It hurt so much, but I didn't back down. I crawled over and grabbed his hands, pounding on himself, firmly saying, unless your eyes are healed, I will never abandon you. He suddenly hugged me tightly, crying. He promised never to get angry with me again, but today... He lost his temper over another woman. Realizing he had lost his composure, his expression softened, and he pulled me into his embrace. Sorry, honey, I didn't mean to snap at you. I lost control for a moment. If you don't want to apologize, just rest for now. He then gently kissed my forehead. Are you hungry, dear? I'll ask Sister Chen to cook something for you. Sister Chen is quite a good cook. But as I ate, the food tasted bland, as if I was chewing wax. I ate a little and then made an excuse to go back to my room to rest. In the afternoon, Lu Jincheng thoughtfully brought me a glass of milk. Honey, you didn't eat much at noon. Have some milk. Thank you. I took the milk and drank it quietly. Lu Jincheng watched me finish drinking, looking like he had something to say but hesitated. I took the initiative to ask him, is there something you want to talk about? Are you free tonight? Join me at a friend's birthday party. Lu Jincheng has many friends, but most of them don't like me. They look down on me and even mock me behind my back, saying I'm a toad lusting after a swan. I thought that was why Lu Jincheng was hesitant to tell me, but wanting to go abroad smoothly, I agreed. It wasn't until I entered the banquet hall that I realized the friend he mentioned was Jiang Xian. She sat in the center of the sofa, wearing the same sexy red slip dress and her hair in glamorous waves. Her arm was wrapped in thick gauze, which didn't seem to affect her poised elegance. A friend saw me enter, deliberately raising their voice. They said sarcastically, "My friend here, her skin is as thick as a city wall," knowing he doesn't love her but still shamelessly trying to marry him. And guess what? What then? She succeeded in climbing up the ladder. Who knows how long she can show off. Enough, don't gossip behind others' backs. Jiang Xian elegantly took a sip of her juice. When she put down her glass, she accidentally saw me. Her face turned pale, and she stared at me in horror. "Ah Chen, why did you bring her here?" I'm scared." Lu Jincheng glanced at me. He took my hand. Xin, don't be scared. Yaya came here specifically to apologize to you." I nearly choked. Lu Jincheng was really pushing the limits, tricking me here to apologize to his old flame. "Ah Chen, take her away, she's going to kill me." Jiang Xian acted as if she was terrified. I watched her performance coldly, curious to see what new antics she would pull. Lu Jincheng saw that I remained silent. He whispered in my ear, "Honey, just apologize to her, okay? If you do, I can agree to anything you want." "Lu Jincheng, I told you I won't apologize." "Yeah, please listen." "Sorry, I can't comply." I turned around to leave. Lu Jincheng grabbed my wrist, still keeping his voice low. "Yeah, my mother called me again today, urging me to reclaim the land occupied by the orphanage soon. Should I listen to her?" I paused mid-step. The orphanage was where I grew up. Last year, the Lu Corporation flagged the entire area, and the orphanage faced eviction. A few days ago, I had transferred 50 million I received from Mrs. Lu to the matron to lease a new place, but the new site needed time to be renovated. I hadn't expected that Lu Jincheng would threaten me with this, just to make me apologize to his beloved. The man before me had become a stranger even before this. He had been very kind to me and had taken great care of the orphanage. "Lu Jincheng, must I really apologize?" I asked, holding back tears. A flicker of reluctance passed through his eyes, but he gently touched the top of my head. "Mimi, it's just an apology." "Fine, I'll do it." I turned around and walked step by step towards Jiang Xian. Jiang Xian watched me. A barely noticeable hint of intent gleamed through her fearful eyes. She pointed to the cake on the table and spoke cautiously. "Mimi, I know you hate me, but I swear, there's nothing between Aching and me. Please don't target me anymore. Let's eat some cake and make peace." I looked at the cake on the table, mango flavored. Clearly, it was specially prepared for me. I then looked at Lu Jincheng. He knew I was allergic to mangoes, yet he remained silent. "Mimi, don't you want to?" Jiang Xian looked increasingly aggrieved. "Aching, if Mimi doesn't want to, let's not force her," she said. "She wants to," Lu Jincheng insisted, looking down at me, his gentleness tinged with a stern warning. "Mimi, is that right?" The last bit of hope shattered. I felt a chill in my heart and squatted in front of the coffee table. Jiang Xian personally cut a large slice of cake and handed it to me with a forced smile. "Mimi, this is a birthday cake Aching specially ordered to apologize to me. You're really lucky to have a taste. Make sure you eat a lot." I took the cake and began to eat silently. With each bite, tears fell. I grew up in an orphanage, never celebrated a birthday, nor had I ever owned a cake. The first time I had cake was the day Lu Jincheng regained his sight. He had champagne and cake delivered to celebrate. The cake was exquisitely made. Unable to wait, I greedily scooped a small piece and ate it. Minutes later, I began to breathe rapidly and then fainted. Lu Jincheng was terrified. He carried me out of the villa, urging the driver to hurry, his eyes red as he begged me to hold on. I was in pain, but I could clearly feel his tears falling on my cheeks. Back then, he truly loved me and was scared something would happen to me. But today, despite knowing I was allergic to mangoes, he allowed his beloved Jiang Xian to trouble me, forcing me to eat the cake. In his heart, making Jiang Xian happy was more important than my life. Angry and tearful, I stuffed large bites of the cake into my mouth. After finishing one piece, I started on the second, then the third. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, I had almost eaten half of the entire cake. Lu Jincheng's expression changed slightly, and he started to speak but stopped. "Mimi, you, Lu Jincheng. I deliberately crashed the car into your Miss Jiang. I was wrong. And I apologized to her. Is this sincere enough? Xin didn't ask you to keep eating. If I don't keep eating, will your Xin let me go? Can the orphanage be saved? I laughed as tears flowed down. Lu Jincheng, I finished the other half. Please don't threaten me with the orphanage anymore. Okay. Lu Jincheng was at a loss for words. I tightened my grip on the spoon and continued to eat voraciously. Enough. Lu Jincheng could no longer bear it and knocked the spoon from my hand. Su Wanyue. If you want to apologize, do it properly, don't pull these stunts. He was very strong. I fell to the ground. It didn't hurt, but my breathing became rapid, and a familiar feeling of suffocation surged towards me. I supported myself on the coffee table, trying to stand up from the ground. Seeing my discomfort, Lu Jincheng's expression tightened, and he reached out to help me. Wanyue, how are you? But Jiang Xian got to me first, holding my arm with a face full of apology. Wanyue. What's wrong with you? If you don't want to apologize, don't force yourself. Why do you have to scare me like this? She finished crying and then lifted her tear-stained face to Lu Jincheng. Jincheng, what's wrong with Wanyue? Is she really unwell or just pretending? I'm scared by her actions. Her fingers, wrapped around my arm, pinched into my flesh deliberately. I struggled to shake her off, but she deliberately sat down hard on the floor, hitting the table leg with her bandaged hand. Ah. She cradled her hand, her face painfully contorted. Wanyue, why did you push me? My hand, Xin, Lu Jincheng's hand, initially extended toward me, ultimately turned towards her. He pulled her into his embrace. Jiang Xian looked up at him with tears in her eyes. My injury, it seems to have split open. Jincheng, will my hand be ruined? No, I'll take you to the hospital right now. Lu Jincheng picked her up from the floor and walked towards the exit. As he passed by me, his steps faltered slightly, and he glanced down at me gasping on the ground. His gaze was doubtful, hesitant, but he did not look back at me again and walked away with long strides. The room fell silent, only the sound of my heavy breathing remained. As I shivered and reached out for my phone to seek help, the crowd started to buzz. Cold discussions filled the air. Lu Jincheng has left. Who is she performing for now? She's been acting for so many years. Must be a habit by now. Honestly, I'm quite envious of her. If only I had known, I would have gone to the Lu family estate to play a submissive role. Maybe I'd be Mrs. Lu by now. Forget it, only girls from humble backgrounds can endure such a demeaning life. I really want to see how low she can stoop. My consciousness began to blur. The last thing I heard was women's malicious mockery. I finally believed, a marriage not favored by others is unlikely to be happy. I had that dream again. The dream where I was abandoned by everyone, only this time I wasn't panicking nor aimlessly looking for a place to belong. My heart grew cold, and I no longer thought about relying on others. No one's life has to be lived with someone else. Half asleep and half awake, I faintly heard Lu Jincheng's voice, cold yet anxious. What exactly is wrong with Wanyue? Why hasn't she woken up yet? President Lu, rest assured, Mrs. Lu has basically come back from the brink. She'll wake up soon. Don't lie to me, you have my word. The doctor spoke in a pleasing tone. After he left, Lu Jincheng gently took my hand in his, moving my fingers across his stubbled chin. Yeah, please wake up soon, don't scare me. His voice was tender, as if I were the only love of his life, irreplaceable. If it weren't for Jiang Xian, I might have been deceived again. I slowly opened my eyes. He was overjoyed, gripping my hand even tighter, but his joy soon turned to regret. My wife, you're finally awake. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to force you to apologize to Jiang Xian. I was just afraid that if you didn't, she might sue you. I didn't realize your mango allergy was so severe. I shouldn't have let you eat that cake. I gave a bitter smile. He wasn't unaware. It's just that Jiang Xian's moods mattered to him more than my life. The truth was in my heart. I couldn't be bothered to argue with him or listen to his insincere excuses. Amid his endless apologies, I calmly said, Husband, I would also like a birthday party. Is that okay? Lu Jincheng was taken aback, quickly nodding his head. Of course, my wife, you can have as big a birthday party as you want. I don't need it to be big, but I want it to be at the other manor. Why do you want it at the other manor? He kissed my fingers. My wife, we could choose a better location, like a private vineyard or a private island, but I just want it at the other manor. I met his concerned gaze. Husband, the other manor is where our love blossomed and bore fruit. It holds extraordinary significance for me. Lu Jincheng fell silent, his eyes cast downward, hiding a trace of guilt. After a moment, he looked up. All right, then let's have it at the other manor. Thank you. Since the other manor was where our relationship was confirmed, it should naturally be the place where we part, let it be a formal farewell. The other manor isn't big and its location isn't great, which is why it became the place where the Liu family discarded Liu Jincheng, deemed useless. Yet this place with no apparent advantages caught Jiang Xian's eye. Nothing has changed here, it's full of memories, everywhere reminding me of how Liu Jincheng and I grew together and loved each other. However, the wedding photo of Liu Jincheng and me on the bedroom wall had been replaced at some point with a campus oil painting. The two figures stretched by the setting sun in the painting were clearly Liu Jincheng and Jiang Xian, seeing me watching the painting expressionlessly. Liu Jincheng looked somewhat guilty. My wife, I was planning to move the wedding photo back to our bedroom to hang, and just decorate here with the painting. I quietly nodded, and as I turned around, I saw a torn black stocking messily thrown on the big bed in the center of the bedroom. The stocking looked familiar. It was the same one Jiang Xian wore in the risque photo she sent me the day before yesterday. It seems the other manor has been tainted. My last sanctuary was gone with Liu Jincheng's change of heart. Suddenly, I felt nauseous but couldn't vomit. Liu Jincheng seemed to notice the black stocking too. His expression hardened. He turned me around, saying, "Wife, our guests have almost all arrived. Let's go downstairs." I didn't want to stay a second longer. Together, we headed for the bedroom door. Downstairs, the party had already started. As the glasses were exchanged in a lively toast, I immediately spotted Jiang Xian at the center of the crowd. She wasn't wearing her usual red dress, but her presence was as radiant as ever. Perhaps it was because she was Liu Jincheng's first love. Or perhaps because everyone but me knew that she was truly Mrs. Liu. Wherever she went, she was the center of attention, like the moon surrounded by stars. Liu Jincheng, watching the crowd's light-hearted banter, unconsciously tightened his arm around my waist and leaned in to whisper in my ear, "Wife, Jiang Xian feels quite guilty about the cake incident, so she made it a point to attend your birthday party today." His voice was low, yet loud enough for Jiang Xian to overhear. Jiang Xian shook her wine glass at me. "Mrs. Liu, I'm really sorry about the cake." Her apology lacked sincerity and seemed more like a provocation. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, I returned her gesture with a cool smile. "It's all right." It seemed Liu Jincheng preferred to keep me away from Jiang Xian. After making some polite conversation with friends, he thoughtfully escorted me to a temporarily arranged resting room, claiming he was worried I'd get tired, and said he would call me when it was time to blow out the birthday candles. I had already lost interest in the celebration and planned to leave through the back door. Unexpectedly, I overheard Liu Jincheng's angry voice near the pool. "What exactly do you want? Do you enjoy making my life difficult?" I turned to look and saw Liu Jincheng pinning Jiang Xian against a wall, his hand tightly clasped around her neck, his face as cold as ice. Yet Jiang Xian was not afraid. She gently lifted his lip with her slender fingers, her smile teasing. "Liu Jincheng, what era do you think this is? Keeping both a wife and a mistress?" "What do you mean?" he growled. "What I mean is, you can't hide the truth forever. Sooner or later, Su Wanyue will find out her marriage certificate is fake, so you purposely came to the villa and left those traces intentionally. I love you too much." His handsome face darkened. "Jiang Xian, if you want to play it this way, then we, Chen." Jiang Xian placed her finger on his lips, her expression softening. "I know Su Wanyue has helped you and you want to repay her, but this isn't the way to do it. You're just hurting her. If you really want to make it up to her, give her some money and let her leave Jiang City. I believe she'll understand that a forced melon isn't sweet and will agree to leave." Liu Jincheng's expression turned icy. "I won't let Wanyue leave me. I'm warning you, today is Wanyue's birthday. And I won't allow you to cause trouble or hurt her." He gritted his teeth, pushed her away, and turned back to the house. Under the swaying shadows of the trees, Jiang Xian suddenly laughed. She twirled a strand of hair by her cheek and raised her voice. "Miss Su, you've really surprised me." "Not as much as you have," I replied, stepping closer to her. She turned her head to look at me, sarcasm clear in her eyes. "Miss Su, I don't understand why you're still with him. He neither marries you nor loves you, and lately, he's even been less intimate with you, hasn't he? If I were you, I would have left with dignity a long time ago." "No, you wouldn't have," I retorted, meeting her mocking gaze with a cold laugh. "Miss Jiang, knowing full well he had a girlfriend and was committed, you still flew back from abroad to cling to him. That clearly shows you're the one who lacks tact, Miss Su. Isn't the fake marriage certificate and the time he spent with me lately enough to prove his feelings for me? If that's not enough," she stepped closer to me, her eyes gleaming with malice as they swept over the nearby swimming pool. How about we make a big bet, do you dare? I followed her gaze to the pool. The water shimmered in the light, at least 2 meters deep, and I couldn't swim. I don't dare, nor could I afford the risk, because I knew I would lose. Lu Jinchen had never given me the confidence to win, but if you don't bet, how will you ever give up on Lu Jinchen completely? As I turned to leave, Jiang Xian grabbed me fiercely. With a splash, we both fell into the water. The icy pool water quickly enveloped my body, and I screamed in fear. Help! Jiang Xian flailed in the water about 2 meters away from me, also crying for help. I felt water entering my throat. Breathing became difficult, and my body uncontrollably sank further down. A crowd gathered at the edge. I saw Lu Jinchen push through the crowd, taking off his jacket as he dove into the pool. Though I had long stopped loving him, in this dire despite my predicament, I couldn't help but hope for his help, just this once, to pull me out of the water. But my hope drowned along with my heart when he swam without hesitation towards Jiang Xian, wrapping his strong arms around her and urgently pulling her to the poolside. Meanwhile, I was embarrassingly fished out of the water with a large net, lying cold and coughing water on the shore. On the other side, Lu Jinchen urgently asked Jiang Xian, who was soaked, Xin, are you alright? Jiang Xian weakly opened her eyes and gave him a frail smile. Aiken, did you forget? I can swim. After saying that, she looked over at me with a slight lift of her brows, her eyes clearly gloating. See, I win again. I always win. Yes, she won again, even knowing she could swim. Lu Jinchen chose to save her first. The surroundings fell eerily silent, and I could even see the pity in everyone's eyes. Miss Su, are you alright? Do you need an ambulance? Someone finally asked. It was this question that made Lu Jinchen remember that I, his wife, was also there. He frowned slightly and walked towards me, asking, Uma, what are you playing at? His tone was clearly accusatory. Suspecting that I had pushed someone on purpose. Aiken, the water is so cold. I can't breathe. Jiang Xian clung to his clothes, her face red and gasping for air. As usual, Lu Jinchen left me to carry her towards the car. As he passed by me, he gave me a deep look and instructed the staff nearby, quickly take Mrs. Lu back to change her clothes. Wait, I called out to his retreating back. After a moment, I slowly got up from the wet ground. Jiang Xian, held in Lu Jinchen's arms, looked at me with a provocative smile. I raised my hand and slapped her hard across the face. She clutched her face in shock, staring at me as everyone else froze. Before they could react, I kicked her into the pool with a splash. Lu Jinchen and she fell into the water together. Help! Jiang Xian flailed and screamed in the water. Lu Jinchen, holding her, surfaced, wiping the water from his face, his expression dark and frightening. Su Wanyu, are you insane? I stepped closer, looking down at him, and said clearly, Lu Jinchen, see clearly, this is what causing trouble really looks like. Without giving him a chance to speak, I turned and walked towards the gate of the villa, my body dripping wet. Behind me, I could faintly hear the guests discussing, all shaming me, but I didn't care, not anymore. I didn't want to take another look at this cold and indifferent place. I returned directly to the bridal suite, took a hot shower, changed into clean clothes, wiped away all traces related to me in the bridal room, and placed the prepared document bag on the bedside table. I walked out without looking back. The sunshine outside was just right, warming me like I was being reborn. I sent a message to Mrs. Lu, telling her I had left according to plan, and it seemed she was quite pleased. She couldn't wait to make the call. Su Wanyue, you better never come back. I won't be coming back. There are no relatives or friends here for me. I see no reason to return. The only thing I can't let go of is the orphanage. I calmly added, Mrs. Lu, please tell Lu Jincheng that if he has any conscience left, he should stop using the orphanage as leverage. Don't worry, he won't have that opportunity anymore. I couldn't grasp the meaning behind her words, but it didn't matter. After hanging up the phone, I turned off my mobile and removed the SIM card, throwing it into a nearby trash can. From now on, Lu Jincheng will no longer be a part of my world. For the first time, Lu Jincheng found Jiang Xian sobbing annoying. It was also the first time he didn't feel sympathy for her tears. Instead, his mind was haunted by the image of Su Wanyue, soaking wet, turning away with eyes full of scorn and determination. This unfamiliar Su Wanyue frightened him a bit, and naturally, his heart was in turmoil. He picked up his phone and walked towards the hospital room door. Jiang Xian quickly grabbed him, her eyes tearful. Achin, don't go. I'm scared. What are you scared of? Lu Jincheng looked down at her. I'm scared. If Su Wanyue doesn't kill me the first or second time, there might be a third. Is Su Wanyue that kind of person? Lu Jincheng seemed to be questioning himself more than her. He wasn't so sure anymore. Jiang Xian felt a chill in her heart, but still, she put on a terrified face. Chen, what do you mean? Don't you believe what I said? I just find it hard to believe that Su Wanyue would hurt people. In his mind, Su Wanyue was kind enough to shield the orphanage children from hardships despite her mango allergy, kind enough not to even step on an ant in the yard, yet recently, she's been frequently harming Jiang Xian, attacking her violently. It didn't make sense. Xin, I hope you are also kind, he said sternly and then walked out of the hospital room to the hallway to call Su Wanyue. The first call didn't go through. He tried again, still no answer, so, he switched to sending a message. Wanyue, are you alright? Just as the message was sent, a red exclamation mark appeared in the chat. His heart felt seared. He immediately sent another message. Wanyue, have you taken a warm bath to warm up your body? I asked Sister Chen to make you some ginger soup to prevent a cold. Exclamation marks, all red. Lu Jincheng felt a bad premonition rising. He thought for a moment and then called Sister Chen. Since Su Wanyue didn't like having strangers at home, Sister Chen was just a part-time helper who rarely came. She knew nothing about Su Wanyue's whereabouts. Just as Lu Jincheng was about to head home to look for her, a female doctor in a white coat approached him, greeting him respectfully. Mr. Lu, are you here for Mrs. Lu's prenatal checkup? What prenatal checkup? Lu Jincheng thought he had heard wrong. The doctor smiled warmly. That day after finding out about the pregnancy, I asked Mrs. Lu to come back for a checkup in a week. I was about to call her since she hadn't shown up. Lu Jincheng felt as if his brain had exploded. His whole being was stunned. Wanyue was pregnant, but why hadn't she told him? And she had just fallen into the water. Thinking of her crawling by the poolside, shivering from the cold, Lu Jincheng regretted his actions deeply as he slapped himself in frustration. He quickly walked towards the elevator, frantically redialing Su Wanyue's phone over and over again. The sunset was warm, but as Lu Jincheng stepped into the bridal chamber, an involuntary shiver ran down his spine. The sprawling villa felt empty without the joyful greeting from Wanyue, without the scent of a home-cooked meal wafting through the air. The entire house was chillingly cold, weakening him to his core. A growing sense of dread filled his heart. As he strode upstairs, he called out loudly, Wanyue, Wanyue, are you home? The only response was the echoing silence of the rooms. Entering the bedroom, he noticed half of the belongings were gone, the couple's photos on the bedside table, the little ornaments he had given to Su Wanyue, and the skincare products on the vanity, all were missing. He rushed into the walk-in closet only to find that aside from his clothes, none of Su Wanyue's garments remained. It was clear, she had left. He slumped onto the sofa in defeat, his gaze drawn to the envelope on the coffee table. Eagerly, he opened the folder. And a thick stack of colored printouts fell out. There were screenshots of Jiang Xian's recent social media updates, provoking messages she sent to Su Wanyue on WeChat, and the truth about his car accident from years ago. Only now did Lu Jincheng realize that his accident had been orchestrated by Jiang Xian's former lover. After Jiang Xian had gotten together with him, she wanted to break up with her ex-boyfriend, who, in a fit of rage, drove into them. He had gone blind trying to save Jiang Xian, who then coldly left him for her boyfriend and moved abroad as soon as she learned of his blindness. Though they married overseas, their life was far from happy. Once she heard about his vision restoration, she immediately reached out to him, and on that very day, he and Su Wanyue were supposed to register their marriage. Distracted, he committed the gravest mistake of his life by secretly obtaining a fake marriage certificate. He had fallen into Jiang Xian's trap from the very start. Wanyue had known all along that the marriage certificate was fake. Holding the folder tightly, his entire body trembled as he saw the abortion paperwork at the bottom. Wanyue had not only kept her pregnancy from him but had also secretly terminated it. She must have been utterly disappointed in him, and yet, he remained oblivious, continuously deceiving her, repeatedly crossing her boundaries. Suddenly, he felt like a fool, a ridiculous fool. After sitting on the sofa for a long while to collect himself, he remembered to call the orphanage, Wanyue's only support in Jiangqing. They would surely know her whereabouts. The orphanage director didn't hide the truth. She told him directly that Wanyue had left Jiangqing and would never return. He couldn't believe it. He refused to accept it because Wanyue had often spoken highly of how well the orphanage director and the children treated her, and how much she loved everyone there. How could she bear to leave them behind? The director sighed. Mr. Liu, Wanyue loves us, and we love her too. That's why we support all her decisions, including her initial challenging choice to marry you. Director, could you please tell me where Wanyue has gone? I'm sorry, Mr. Liu, she didn't say. And we don't know. Realizing that the director was about to hang up, Lu Jincheng became desperate. It's impossible. Wanyue loves you so much. She couldn't have left without telling you her whereabouts. Please tell me. I have something I need to say to her. Before he could finish, the director interrupted him gently. Mr. Liu, Wanyue is a human being, not some emotionless animal. I can't endure such torment from you. Please have some dignity. The next second, all that was left was the dial tone of a disconnected call. Lu Jincheng clenched his phone. His heart felt as if it was being strangled, the pain suffocating him. The best Yaya in the world. He had never thought of giving up on her, nor did he want to just miss out on her. But he had no idea where to start looking for her. His steps were clumsy and faltering, each step taken with regret and helplessness. When Jiang Xian saw him, she saw his pale face and his utterly lost demeanor. Chen, where have you been? She hid her guilt, feigning frailty as she leaned into his embrace. Chen, don't leave me behind. I'm so scared. Lu Jincheng looked down at her. The woman before him was clearly full of deceit. Why couldn't he see through her? Could it be that his eyes were blind, and his heart as well? Jiang Xian, unnerved by the coldness in his eyes, began to speak more cautiously. Chen, what's wrong? Lu Jincheng handed her the document folder he was holding. Jiang Xian hesitated before taking it. As she saw the contents of the documents, her face abruptly changed and she shook her head in denial. This isn't my account, nor did I send these messages. Chen, what are all these about? Ex-boyfriends? I don't know any of them. Before she could finish, Lu Jincheng kicked her away. She writhed in pain on the ground. Lu Jincheng stepped forward, his hard shoe sole pressing down on her head. The woman he had once cared for was now nothing more than dirt in his eyes, venomous like a serpent. Even glancing at her made him feel sick. Jiang Xian, listen to me. If anything happens to Yaya, I will make your life a living hell. Jiang Xian looked up at him in terror. Gradually, she began to laugh sadly, unretainable. She had known from the start that she could never keep this man. Sympathy gained through lies is not love, nor can it ever last, she had always understood. My plane landed at the international airport in Country Y. My dear friend Luo Wei was already waiting for me at the exit. She hugged me and spun me around, incredulous. 20 days ago, when I called her to say I decided to come to Country Y to hold an art exhibition with her, she was ecstatic. During those 20 days, she worried every day that I might change my mind. She asked me daily if I was really coming. Now seeing me in person, she was finally at ease. Leaving the airport, she immediately took me to her studio. Although I hadn't been working these years, at Luo Wei's persistent invitation, I occasionally painted some works that were sold at her studio. The money went to an orphanage. Half a year ago, Luo Wei suggested holding an art exhibition and asked me to create a signature piece. After much thought, I painted a large work with Lu Jincheng as the background and love as the theme. When Luo Wei received the painting, she laughed meaningfully. It has the sweetness of love, almost cloyingly so. Now standing in front of this painting again, both Luo Wei and I felt a bit awkward. Luo Wei looked at the painting, then at me, and chuckled. The exhibition opens next month. Want to change it? Looking at the deep profile of the man in the painting, I was reminded of the moments spent sketching him. It was indeed sweet, cloyingly so, but in reality, he had already reconnected with Jiang Xian and even presented me with a fake marriage certificate. The so-called sweetness was just my own wishful thinking. Let's burn it, I said calmly. I will have a new piece ready within a month. Luo Wei, aware of all my history with Lu Jincheng, didn't make it difficult for me. Instead, she nodded in agreement. That's probably for the best. In the following month, I was busy painting every day. This time, I've shifted the theme of my art to orphans. Every child is an angel with a sky of azure above. After moving past personal sentiments, my perspective broadened significantly. It felt profoundly meaningful to use my paintings to give voice to those children deprived of love. Over the past month, Luo Wei occasionally updated me on Lu Jincheng's affairs. I heard he was desperately searching for me, visiting the orphanage daily to ask the matron for my phone number and address. When she refused to give them to him, He knelt outside the orphanage gates, undeterred by wind or rain. Eventually, with no other choice, the matron had to call his family to forcibly take him home. Unable to obtain my information from the matron, Lu Jincheng resorted to spending a fortune on media campaigns online, calling out to me, hoping I would give him a chance to make amends. I saw the videos, they were passionate and touching, but they no longer moved me since my love for him had faded. The art exhibition went ahead as scheduled, and my Peace Angel received widespread acclaim. Before the exhibition even concluded, it was purchased for a high price. Naturally, I was delighted. With this money, the orphanage recently relocated, allowing the children to live and dress better. Only later did I discover that it was Lu Jincheng who had bought Angel at a high price. He said he loved the piece and planned to hang it in our marital home, so he could see it every day as if seeing me. He earnestly pleaded for me to return to his side and enjoy my artworks together. I refused. Had the contract not been already signed, I wouldn't have sold Angel to him at all. Breakups should look like breakups. A month later, Angel successfully made its way back to Jiangqing across the seas, but Lu Jincheng could no longer see it. Reportedly, in an attempt to force Jiang Xian to divorce, he humiliated her and then struck her down the stairs, causing her to break both legs. Jiang Xian, not one to be trifled with, decisively took him to court. Given the Lu family's influence in Jiangqing, it would have been easy to protect him, but Mrs. Lu, like in the past, did not hesitate to abandon her stepson, leaving him to his fate. That's when I understood what Mrs. Lu meant when she last told me, "He won't have this chance again." Mrs. Lu had never really liked her stepson, Lu Jincheng, as she had her own biological son to support. That's why she gave me evidence of Jiang Xian and her ex-boyfriend's marriage abroad, allowing me to personally ruin Lu Jincheng. I heard he was arrested not long after and soon lost his sight again from the shock. He could no longer see me or my paintings. Lu Wei told me all this with a sigh. I never imagined that the young master Lu had such a tragic background. Indeed, when the Lu family abandoned him years ago, it was I who gradually pulled him out of darkness. This time, who will help him? Who else has the patience to save him like I did? Seeing me continue painting non-stop, Lu Wei curiously asked, You, after all you were husband and wife, how can you remain so calm? I searched everywhere with the report in hand. Lu Jincheng and I were never truly husband and wife. Lu Wei was stunned for a moment, then laughed along with me. True, no need to feel sorry for him. In fact, I still feel sympathy and lament his situation. But my heart no longer aches for him, regardless of whether his future is bright or bleak. It no longer concerns me. Story 2. On the day my husband, Lu Shiqing, passed away, the world was flooded with his passionate farewell letter. Xuani, finally buried together, to sleep side by side for 1,000 years. Regrettably, I am not Xuani. I am the first wife whom Lu Shiqing regarded as a stain in his life. I was not allowed to appear in the living room to meet guests and could only claim to be his cousin when others were present. After having labored half my life, I returned to being 18, resolutely canceling the plane ticket that would have accompanied him to his post in France. In this life, the stubborn Su Yujun would no longer cling to him. She also had things she desperately wanted to protect. Madam, are you sure you want to cancel your ticket? It's very hard to get a ticket now. You might not be able to book another, the ticket agent kindly reminded me. I smiled brightly. No matter how hard it is, I no longer want it. What doesn't belong to me is ultimately just an obsession. Alright, here is your cancellation receipt and refund. I took it, looking over the thin receipt again and again. After a while, I took off the locket necklace from around my neck and opened it. Inside was a black and white photo of Lu Shiqing, a young man in a suit and leather shoes. His face turned sideways, hair slicked back, with a high nose and deep-set eyes, exuding a commanding presence. In my previous life, there were too many things I didn't understand. I couldn't understand the young man who once saw my bound feet. His eyes red as he applied medicine to me. Later, on our wedding night, he left me for his study and coldly said, Yujun, I could never share a bed with a woman who has bound feet. I didn't understand. The young man who kept my photo in his locket over his heart during his first trip abroad for studies. Later, when he was about to leave for France, looking at my swollen, tearful eyes, he coldly said, Yujun, even if my eyes were cried blind, I wouldn't take you with me. Eventually, I thought, as he said, a delicate lady from a good family, bound by traditional foot binding, was just a remnant of feudalism not fit for the public eye. I don't blame him, I blame myself. Thus, I sold the embroidery shop left by my parents to accompany him across the seas. He mingled with politicians and nobles, always busy with public duties, never allowing me to step into the living room. I learned to dress fashionably, even unbinding my feet, enduring excruciating pain to learn dancing. But when I appeared at the banquet, I saw him dancing one dance after another with a dazzling woman, his arm around her waist. His eyes held a depth of affection I hadn't seen in a long time. When others asked who I was, he coldly replied, "A cousin from home," and that woman was the wealthy Miss Tang Xuani. They both worked in the Foreign Affairs Department, one a rising diplomat, the other a well-born etiquette officer. His secretaries said that the diplomat, who usually kept his distance from women, had found his first love, yet every night, it was I, his so-called cousin, who shared tender moments with him. That day, I touched my stomach and smiled gently. "Shirching. We're going to have a child," I thought. Surely now he must see me as his wife. But Lu Shirching, who was writing at his desk, trembled with his pen in hand. He looked up icily and said, "Get an abortion. Abortion could kill a person," he scoffed. "People die in plane crashes too. Does that mean you see others not flying?" Clutching my stomach, I felt a chill envelop my body, stubbornly refusing to utter a word. After a long silence, he finally spoke softly. "My parents have written saying they miss you, Xiao Jun. When you return home, please take care of them for me." It was all to protect the child, and for that faint, unreasonable hope, the hope that after becoming a devoted wife and mother, he would cherish me. I returned to the deep courtyard of his family home, caring for his parents and raising our child. However, when war erupted, I was forced to flee from place to place with the entire family. I picked up embroidery to make ends meet. My fingertips pricked and punctured by the needles, yet, in the newspapers, there he was, looking dashing as he gave interviews. At his side, Tang Xiani clung to his arm, all smiles. The caption underneath, identifying them as a couple of diplomats, stung more sharply than any needle. Worried about my parents, Lu Shirching hurried back to our country, but at that very moment, Tang Xiani died in a bombing in Paris. The news hit him like a bolt of lightning, and he collapsed into a chair. For the decades that followed, all he offered me was cold indifference. He ignored even our child. In his final years, bedridden, I cared for him with my own aged hands, accompanying him on his last journey. Yet, in his clenched hand, until the end, was a necklace holding not a picture of me but of his long-deceased first love. She had never given him anything, dying in her prime, yet she lived on forever in his heart. And I, who had labored half my life and loved him deeply, did not receive a single mention in his will. Fortunately, there was still half a month before the plane took off. There was still time. I discarded the photo and folded the ticket refund, placing it inside the necklace instead. Back at the mansion where Lu Shirching and I had lived together, I told the old butler that the embroidery shop was not for sale and instructed him to prepare a set of embroidery frames. A fire 7 years ago had taken my parents and brought our 300-year-old Su family embroidery shop to its knees. In a previous life, a famous actor from Shanghai had requested a costume for Farewell My Concubine and had sought the best craftsmanship from various shops. I had wanted to try but gave up because I went abroad with Lu Shirching. Now, securing the favor of a renowned actor was crucial for the revival of the long-silent embroidery shop. A car horn sounded outside. Looking up, I saw Lu Shirching walking in. He was dressed in a shirt and a cashmere vest, his trousers neatly covering his long legs. His features were handsome, and a faint smile played on his lips. Tang Xiani, in a delicate lace dress, clung to his arm. "Shirching, I haven't had enough of the dance at the party. Would you dance some more with me?" she asked sweetly, her fair face flushed with the glow of alcohol. Taking his hand, she twirled into his embrace. They stepped inside, laughing, but stopped abruptly upon seeing me. I was stunned. In my previous life, I had shut myself away, spending days learning French, so I hadn't known that they were already so close. I put down my needlework, stood up, and decided to leave. Tang Xuani blocked my way with an outstretched hand. "Shirching, who is this?" Lu Shirching's face was stern, his prominent nose casting a harsh shadow. "She's my cousin." Rather than waiting for him to speak, I decided to introduce myself. A flash of surprise crossed Lu Shirching's face before he responded softly, Yet Tang Xuani was relentless, tugging at my sleeve and covering her mouth with a giggle. She said, "Shirching, is this the cousin you're taking to France? Aren't you afraid she might end up as an exhibit in the Louvre, dressed in a traditional embroidered cheongsam?" She regarded me as an old relic. I brushed her hand away. She pointed at the hem of my dress as if she had seen a street rat, exclaiming in shock, "My God. Does your family still practice footbinding? Isn't that foul?" Lu Shiqing, arm around her shoulders, walked on, his tone indifferent. "Don't touch her, you'll dirty your hands." I paused in my steps. They thought they could mock me freely in French, assuming I wouldn't understand, but would their condescending gestures not hurt me, even if I hadn't learned French in my past life? Later that night, Lu Shiqing came to my room, with a bunch of lilies in hand. He naturally placed them in the vase on the table. Seeing me sitting by the embroidery frame, threading a silver needle and ignoring him, he settled himself down and said coldly, "Su Yujun, I'm giving you these flowers, glad that you understand your place. You pushed me to the edge with your threats until I agreed to take you to France. Don't expect anything beyond that." I didn't even look up. "Are you done? If so, please leave." Suddenly, he grabbed my wrist. Lu Shiqing looked down at the needle in my fingers, his brows furrowed. "The embroidery studio is going to be sold. Why continue embroidering? It'd be better to learn some French phrases, even as a cousin. Don't embarrass me." His strong perfume tickled my nose. I replied lightly, "Understood." I was unusually compliant, no longer as tearful as before. Lu Shiqing's expression softened. "Tomorrow, we'll go to Anha Mall to buy some clothes and jewelry. I'll pay for everything. You can't possibly go to France looking so rustic and vulgar, can you?" I looked at the pleated skirt embroidered with blue and white designs, meticulously stitched by my mother, so elegant and exquisite, but such is human nature. When he doesn't love you, even if you are dressed in a bridal gown, it is still terribly wrong. I responded indifferently and waited for Lu Shiqing to leave. I opened the necklace at my chest, looking at the date on the return ticket. Only 14 days left. Just endure a bit longer. I didn't want to cause any trouble before the flight. My uncle and aunt would surely object, perhaps even causing another argument with Lu Shiqing. If that were to prevent him from going abroad, it would be even more troublesome. A few days later, after designing a phoenix pattern, I hurried out to buy fabric. Unexpectedly, I ran into Lu Shiqing and his group in the bustling market, among a group of youths dressed in Western fashion. Lu Shiqing stood out with his tall stature. "Lu family's little sister, we're going to take a commemorative photo. Join us." Tang Xuanyi stepped forward and took my hand. "She doesn't like these modern fancies. Leave her out." Lu Shiqing had a restrained smile on his face, but his eyes were slightly dark and fixed on me. I knew he didn't want me there. Just like before, he didn't allow me to be seen in the hall when guests arrived. Tang Xuanyi smiled sweetly and still pulled me along with her. I really didn't understand why it was necessary to drag me along for a group photo with colleagues from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It wasn't until Tang Xuanyi whispered in my ear with a laugh, a parasite clinging to Shiqing's household, refusing to divorce and insisting on following him to France. "You lack self-awareness. Let me find some for you." I turned my head to look at her radiant smile, momentarily at a loss for words. In the photo studio, Tang Xuanyi pulled Lu Shiqing to take a photo together, against a bright red backdrop, one in a dark black suit, the other in a shoulder-bearing black dress. They were inexplicably well-matched. The onlookers teased, "Anyone would think you two were taking wedding photos, one diplomat and one protocol officer. You two really uphold the image of our foreign ministry." The photographer also cheerfully directed, "Sir, move a bit closer to the lady." "Yes, a little closer." I stood there, somewhat dazed. So it was in this moment that the photo Lu Shiqing kept inside the locket on his necklace was taken. It turned out he had already shifted his affections to someone else so early. Lu Shiqing, with his affable look, scanned the crowd. "Don't joke around. Xuanyi might feel embarrassed." After speaking, he subtly tucked a stray lock of hair behind Tang Xuanyi's ear. Tang Xuanyi turned her head to ask me, her smile sweet, "Little sister, do you think I and your brother match well?" Lu Shiqing squinted his eyes, a silent warning. I inexplicably recalled the wedding night, how the girl was full of joy, thinking she had finally found her match, yet amid all the festivity, she spent a cold, lonely night alone. That night, the pendulum of the Western clock swung all night. She had thought that the most beautiful evening had just ended like that. I forced a smile and spat out 2 words, "Well-matched," the me from a past life, clinging stubbornly to that youthful, naive infatuation, was truly laughable. I clenched the necklace at my chest. Just 10 more days. In 10 days, I could leave all this behind. As the camera clicked that moment, I walked away. From then on, I slept only 2 or 3 hours a day, working tirelessly in front of the embroidery screen, my fingertips dancing swiftly. Even when my fingers were pricked by the needle, I did not stop. Only one night, I took a break to watch Yenxing's play. I was a fan of the theater and had spent a lot of money through my butler to secure a front row seat. The leading lady on stage was enchanting and graceful, with a stunning singing voice. In the end, she dramatically took her own life on stage. Her exotic, seductive eyes closed before me. My heart suddenly trembled. In a past life, during the chaos of war, it was this person who fell in front of me. Even as blood flowed from her chest, she smiled intensely. I owed your father a life, now I repay it, and thus the cycle completes. After stepping out of the carriage, the light was on in my room on the second floor of the mansion. Sensing something was wrong, I hurried upstairs. Upon entering, the door was wide open, and clothes along with the contents of the vanity were scattered all over the floor. Tang Xuanyi was disdainfully tossing aside a pair of 3-inch golden lotus shoes. What are you doing? I marched forward and pushed her away fiercely, my whole body trembling. She stumbled into the corner of the desk, clutching the back of her head as she stood up, her face filled with disbelief. How dare you hit me? How could you? In her anger, she grabbed a vase and hurled it at my head. Lu Shiqing appeared at the doorway. Xuanyi, what's going on? With eyes red, Tang Xuanyi complained. Look, I picked out so many clothes and jewelry for your sister and even helped tidy up her mess, and she pushed me. Only then did I notice the pile of shopping bags in the corner. Lu Shiqing coldly addressed me. Su Yujun, you were the one insistent on going to France. You can't dress yourself properly. Xuanyi kindly chose for you, and you turn around and bully her. I looked down at my soaked clothes and touched the wound on my forehead, my voice chilling. Who asked for her help, also? These are not trash. I pointed to the hairpins scattered on the floor. This hairpin is. I paused. It was a gift from Lu Shiqing when he was 15. But it seemed no longer important. He couldn't see how I cherished these items now strewn across the floor. He couldn't see the swelling on my forehead or my disheveled appearance. What was the point in saying these things? I issued an order for her to leave. I'll accept the gift, Miss Tang, but please refrain from entering my room without permission in the future. But Tang Xuanyi was relentless. Shiqing, I tried to be kind, and I got hit, and your sister didn't even apologize. She pointed at the necklace on my chest. I've given her so many things. Asking for this old necklace isn't too much, is it? In that moment, I understood why she was so generous. She must have known the significance of this necklace and thus aimed to take it. I clutched the necklace tightly, refusing to let go. No, this is where I draw the line. Now, to me, it symbolized a new beginning. Lu Shiqing stepped forward, his tall figure imposingly trapping me in a corner. Yujun, this is the one thing you cannot covet. I shook my head. This has nothing to do with you, he scoffed, then handed over. Just as he reached out for it, I whispered, Shiqing, what if your parents knew? He paused, a look of disgust flickering across his face. Is it fun for you to always use them as a threat? I breathed a sigh of relief. Once they left, I immediately asked the butler for the keys and locked the door. Fortunately, the embroidery was undamaged. Suppressing my shock, I continued to embroider. 5 more days. The day Lu Shiqing leaves would coincide with the day Yenxing selects the embroidery. The night before the 4th day of their departure was the anniversary of my parents' death. That night, I slept uneasily, haunted by nightmares of my past life. Waking up groggy and feverish in the morning, I asked the butler, where has the young master gone? The butler looked troubled. The young master didn't come home last night. I nodded. He usually accompanied me on the anniversary of the death, but it was fine if he didn't. Feeling really dizzy, I went back to bed and fell asleep again. In a daze, I heard someone enter the room. Shiqing, kiss me. Not here. Let's go to my room. Why? She's not here anyway. I know, that woman is your wife, isn't she? Shiqing, do you want her or me? At the door, Lu Shiqing pinned Tang Xuanyi against the wall, held her face, and kissed her, chuckling cryptically. What do you think, my dear lady? Marrying her was only because her father saved my mother from a fire. Otherwise, do you think I would marry someone who can't even recognize all 24 letters of the alphabet? Tang Xuanyi clung tighter to his waist, her smooth and delicate shoulders covered in kiss marks. Her fingers twirled his tie, her voice sickeningly sweet. Then hurry up, I was so drunk last night, I can hardly remember. Take advantage of her being out at the cemetery, we can have some fun. I really wasn't in the mood for such a spectacle. I coughed loudly. At the same time, the butler knocked on the door. Madam, the medicine is ready, please have some. The two looked embarrassed. I got up without glancing at them, opened the door, and took the medicine from the butler. Lu Shiqing then asked, "Are you sick?" I took a spoonful of the medicine, the bitterness furrowing my brow. "Please leave, both of you, you've dirted my sight." Lu Shiqing moved forward, but Tang Xianyi tugged at his sleeve, biting her lip. She looked aggrieved. "Shiqing, I'm sick too. I drank too much last night and still feel dizzy." Lu Shiqing anxiously touched her forehead, checked her temperature, and sighed in relief. "I'll take you to the guest room to rest." It was a long while before Lu Shiqing returned. He touched his lips lightly, coughing twice. "Miss Tang, after all, is a guest. What did you hear?" Holding a silver needle, I replied nonchalantly, "I only woke up when the butler came in." "Why, did something happen?" Relieved, he moved closer, wanting to touch my forehead. "When did you get sick? Why didn't you say anything?" I stepped back to avoid him. "Cousin, you're overstepping." He withdrew his hand, his expression darkening, and he left. Feeling slightly better, I asked the driver to take me to the cemetery alone. Lu Shiqing didn't deserve to be there. The next day, I ran into Tang Xianyi arguing with the butler. "Shiqing has allowed it. Why are you, a mere servant, stopping me?" The old butler wiped the sweat from his forehead. "Miss Su has always been in charge of the mansion's finances. I asked only to find out that they were planning a farewell party for Lu Shiqing's reassignment to France, since cousin has agreed. Naturally Miss Tang can use it." Tang Xianyi flashed a triumphant smile, extended her ostrich feather fan, and patted the old butler on the shoulder. "Whoever Mr. Lu loves is the lady of this mansion." She then gracefully left. The old butler warned me, "Miss, this is too improper. Miss Tang is just an outsider, whereas you are the one engaged to Mr. Lu." I smiled faintly, indifferent. The next day, I understood just how reasonable it was for Lu Shiqing to fall in love with Tang Xuanyi. Tang Xuanyi grew up in a Western atmosphere, a wealthy young lady. She was haughty, as everything she desired was readily provided for her, yet she also perfectly matched the image of the wife Lu Shiqing had hoped for. Within a day, the living room was transformed, exquisite Western oil paintings, gold-rimmed dinnerware, and a crystal champagne tower. Lu Shiqing, dressed in a woolen suit picked out by her, sat in the main seat. At this moment, though he had just begun to show his potential, a promising future awaited him, and he was the focus of government attention. Under his calm, sword-like eyebrows shone eyes bright as fire. Tang Xuanyi, in a white satin evening gown, was the epitome of elegance and grace, hosting guests like a lady of the house. The butler spoke to me about these matters the next day. I was packing my luggage. The butler's face was creased with worry. "Miss, why don't you speak softly to the young master? Whenever you used to cry, the young master would immediately come to comfort you. If all else fails, speak to the old master and the old madam." After all these years of affection, and with the young master ascending to high status, you must seize the opportunity. The butler had watched us grow up, and I knew he felt sorry for me. But a lifetime of 60 years in my past life taught me, I softly spoke, "A changed heart is like quicksand, impossible to grasp." At that moment, Lu Shiqing walked in through the door. He glanced at me and said, "Don't pack too much luggage, we can buy more when we get there." His expression was relaxed, seemingly in a good mood. He walked straight to the bookshelf and picked out a French beginner's book. "How are you doing with it? Have you learned to greet yet?" I looked at him, somewhat puzzled. Lu Shiqing had a natural talent for languages, fluent in several. During his time at the church school, the principal personally praised him as the most outstanding youth since the school's founding. Somewhat puzzled. Lu Shiqing had a natural talent for languages, fluent in several. During his time at the church school, the principal personally praised him as the most outstanding youth since the school's founding. In my previous life, I had asked him to teach me. He was cold and distant, not only refusing to teach but also mocking me. Recalling that, to avoid revealing anything, I still responded with a few polite phrases. Lu Shiqing nodded. "Since you insist on following me, show some effort." He said this as his gaze fell on an embroidery frame, though he said nothing more. On the last day before, I went to the site of the embroidery workshop that had burned down years ago. The chill of early spring and the cool drizzle, holding an oil paper umbrella, I quietly watched the overgrown vacant lot. Memories flashed back. One moment, I was 7 years old, hiding under the embroidery frame with Lu Shiqing, secretly eating candy. Another, my mother was pressing me in front of the embroidery frame, warning me not to expect dinner until my embroidery was finished. Then, my father holding me as he felt new fabrics, asking if there was any I liked. The coachman kindly suggested, "Miss, this place is not auspicious, let's leave." It used to be a well-known embroidery workshop, such a pity, a fire killed who knows how many, if we stay too long. We might attract something unclean. I wiped the corner of my eye. Softly, I said in my heart. Father, Mother, this time I won't leave, I'll stay right here. He turned to the coachman and said, let's go. Upon arriving at the mansion, the butler, holding an umbrella, came to greet us. Young madam, he began, his expression anxious, hesitating as if he had more to say. I lifted the hem of my dress and stepped over the threshold, reminding him, Butler Lou, you got it wrong again. In that instant, as I looked up, my pupils constricted. On the hall table, the embroidery was cut into shreds. Tang Xuanyi was holding scissors, about to snip through the slender neck of a phoenix. Stop, I shouted, feeling a rush of blood to my head. I hurried forward, tripping over my own feet and falling to the ground, as if she hadn't seen me. Tang Xuanyi cut off the phoenix's head and asked Lu Shiqing, who was sitting on the sofa reading a newspaper, Shiqing, how about using this to make a handbag? I like it. I got up, furiously knocked the scissors from her hand, and clutched the ruined phoenix head to my chest. Why must you take what belongs to others? I cried, tears streaming down as I looked at the remnants of the phoenix on the floor. Tang Xuanyi stood up and stepped back, her lips curling. You're crazy, it's just a piece of fabric. There's plenty more in the stores. I glared at her fiercely, walked up, and ripped the newspaper from Lu Shiqing's hands. Why didn't you stop her? She may not understand. But how can you not? I screamed. He calmly removed his glasses and began cleaning them, lifting his thin eyelids. His indifference was palpable. It was a gift. I'm leaving for France tomorrow. These things, they're not important. I trembled all over. The childhood friend who once treasured a single embroidered handkerchief had changed beyond recognition. He allowed others to destroy what I cherished. I slapped Lu Shiqing across the face, emphasizing each word. To you, I'm no longer important either. Holding his reddening cheek, his eyes smoldered with anger, and after a moment, he forced a smile. Su Yujun, have you learned to play hard to get? I remained silent, suppressing all my emotions. I calmly asked the butler for a wooden box and packed the tattered fabric inside. As I walked to the door, someone grabbed my shoulder. The rain is getting heavy. Where are you going? I shrugged off the hand, took an umbrella next to the door, and walked straight into the rain. Behind me, Lu Shiqing's voice was low and deep. Su Yujun, if you keep this up, perhaps it's better not to take you along. See the young madam out. He paused, realizing his slip of the tongue, and added dismissively, let her make a scene. I clenched my skirt tightly, waiting for the judgment from the high platform of the stage. On a carved throne, a handsome man in a dark scholar's robe carelessly flipped through the pieces of fabric with his slender fingers. He looked up at me with his phoenix eyes and said, Miss Su, I don't deal in scraps. My heart sank, and I discreetly wiped my eyes with the handkerchief in my hand. I stood up and bowed, sorry for the disturbance. So, come back in 10 days with an intact phoenix. I suddenly looked up and saw the man's cunning smile. I knelt and kowtowed. I thanked him for his help today and for saving my life in a past life, and for my father's past kindness to Yan Xing, which brought about today's fate. I sewed day and night. This time, I moved straight into the new embroidery house, a narrow little house that had been vacant for a long time. Before I passed out, I heard a series of hurried knocks on the door. When I woke up, the last person I wanted to see was right by my side. Lu Shiqing frowned and asked, where did you run off to? Do you know how long I drove around looking for you? The flight is tomorrow. Stop causing trouble. I was extremely tired. Lu Shiqing, I'm not going. The air fell into a dead silence. Lu Shiqing touched my forehead and said, you're delirious. I pushed his hand away. No, I'm not. His gaze fell on the necklace at my chest, and he scoffed coldly. Su Yujun, don't think I don't know what you're planning. Don't go to my parents and play the victim. If it weren't for your father saving my mother in the fire, I would never have married you in this lifetime. I will take you to France as you wish. Just behave yourself and stop making a fuss. I'll come to pick you up tomorrow morning. The morning the plane was supposed to take off, Lu Shiqing arrived at the embroidery house as promised but didn't see the eagerly awaited figure he was hoping for. On the attic bed, the messy quilt indicated that the person who left was in a hurry. He punched the beam fiercely. Did she think that by disappearing, she could make him stay? Su Yujun was still the same, clinging to her childish stubbornness, refusing to grow up. He left the embroidery house and instructed the driver to go to the Lu family's old house. Su Yujun must have gone to beg her parents not to let him leave. Why didn't Yujun come with you? After his mother asked this, Lu Shiqing scrutinized her expression carefully. Only after confirming she wasn't deceiving him did he calmly reply, "She's ill." He bid his parents farewell, maintaining his composure throughout. It wasn't until he returned to the car and trembled as he opened the suitcase on the back seat that his facade cracked. It was the luggage Su Yujun had prepared: pearl hairpins, a music box, a pocket watch. Each item was so familiar, all gifts he had once given her. He had thought that Yujun loved him too much, which is why she carried them with her. But on closer inspection, they were all gifts, not a single piece of clothing. Lu Shiqing's face darkened as he ordered the driver, "Go to the police station." He would go to great lengths to find Su Yujun. The driver looked troubled. "Young master, it's almost time for your appointment with Miss Tang." Lu Shiqing glanced at his watch. Only 3 hours left until the plane took off. He took off his glasses and massaged his aching brow before scoffing at himself. He almost fell for her ploy. Wasn't this what she wanted to see? To watch him frantically search for her and then miss the departure time. "Go pick up Miss Tang." As they approached the airplane's door, Tang Xuani looped her arm through his, looked up, and smiled. "Shiqing, do you remember the Le Café du Commerce near our school, where we met during our study abroad?" He forced a smile. "I remember." He should be happy, but as the old city that carried all his youthful memories grew distant, it felt as though a piece had been carved out of his heart. He covered the birthmark on the back of his hand. The burning sensation from Su Yojuan's tears that had fallen on it seemed to linger still. Everything was Su Yojuan's fault. 8 days later, amidst the blind judging, my embroidery stood out. When Yanxing invited me to the high floor of the opera house and said those words, I cried tears of joy. Then everything spun around me. I was too tired. When I woke up again, I thanked Yanxing and went to the Lu family's old mansion. In the grand hall of the old mansion, Mr. Lu's teacup fell to the ground with a clang. Mrs. Lu came forward to help me up from my knees. "Yujun, did Shiqing bully you?" Mr. Lu angrily said. "I will write a letter to call him back right now." I shook my head. Yujun realizes that she and Shiqing are no longer of one heart. Yujun is sorry for the 7 years of care from uncle and aunt. I didn't want Mr. and Mrs. Lu to know about the entanglement between Shiqing and me. I had already understood clearly. Shiqing was good in every aspect, but he just shouldn't be my husband, that's all. It took a few days for Mr. and Mrs. Lu to accept, and they finally acknowledged me as their adopted daughter. I wonder what Shiqing's reaction would be when he finds out that I really became his sister. He must feel relieved. 17. When I received the first letter from Shiqing, I had already restarted the Su family embroidery workshop and just took a big order. Mrs. Lu brought out the letter at the dinner table, the urgent letter stamped with the embassy seal, and a plane ticket. Mrs. Lu took my hand. "Yujun, Shiqing is waiting for you to go." I was in a daze. Why would Shiqing want me to go? I didn't open the letter nor take the plane ticket. "Mother, I am your daughter now." Mrs. Lu's eyes reddened, but she smiled. "It's Shiqing who doesn't deserve you." 18. I saw Shiqing again 2 months later. After the curtain fell, the young actor invited me upstairs. Yanxing had removed his stage makeup but was still wearing his costume. His long hair was loosely draped, lazily leaning on the royal chair. Seeing me, he got up and smiled. "I really like this outfit." I was stunned, dazzled by his beauty. It took a while before I replied, "As long as you like it." After a month, Yanxing mentioned a business I was recently discussing. "That boss, he happens to be a personal friend of mine." I firmly refused. Yanxing had already repaid his debt to my father in his previous life. Besides, I am not really a sheltered girl, having been exposed to so much from a young age following my parents. We played chess until late in the evening, and then Yanxing walked me to the door. "Yujun." Hearing him call me, I looked up. It was Shiqing. He stood at the street corner under a black umbrella, dressed in a beautiful white uniform with gold tassels and a badge on his collar, as if he had rushed here. But wasn't he abroad? "Yujun, since when have you become so close to an actor?" Shiqing stepped forward and grabbed my wrist, pulling me into his embrace. I pushed him away. The usually strong man was actually pushed away by me, stumbling a few steps before steadying himself. I then noticed the bloodshot eyes and dark circles under his eyes. "Please, keep it appropriate. We have no relation anymore." Shiqing's gaze darkened, glancing at Yanxing standing quietly under the eaves. "Because of him, when did you two meet?" Yanxing simply smiled, ignoring him. "Miss Su, your car has arrived." I nodded my thanks, not wanting to entangle further with Shiqing. He suddenly rushed forward, pinning me against the car door. He grabbed the necklace at my chest. With a sinister smile, he asked, "Does he know that the necklace you wear over your heart holds my picture?" I didn't get a chance to reply. Yanxing stepped forward, pulling Lu Shiqing off me. "Mr. Lu, I've heard your stories. Unfortunately, this isn't one of them. No need to say more." I removed the necklace and tossed it to Lu Shiqing. "I, Reborn, no longer needed it, since it was your gift. Now it should return to its original owner." Lu Shiqing hurriedly picked up the necklace, unceremoniously wiping it clean with his white cuff. Opening the locket, he froze for a moment. "What's this? A ticket refund? You lied to me. You never planned to go abroad, did you?" I sighed. A heavy curtain of rain and fog hung between us. I did think about it once, but now, I truly am free of burdens. Lu Shiqing clenched the necklace, his wet hair plastered over bloodshot eyes. From then on, I devoted myself to expanding and strengthening the embroidery workshop. During the war, I sheltered widowed women. I taught them embroidery to support their families. Sue's embroidery workshop grew more renowned. Eventually, our products were even included as state gifts to the British royal family. Over the years, I often read the newspapers, seeing Lu Shiqing upright and honorable, earning glory for our country. Each time, I breathed a sigh of relief, fearing that the butterfly effect I caused might have an impact. I thought that I had no further ties with Lu Shiqing, until one late night, a call from the presidential office came. His secretary was on the line. "Mr. Lu Shiqing was in a plane accident, his life hanging by a thread. He keeps uttering your name. Please come quickly." After hanging up, I immediately set out. Government vehicles picked me up at the agreed location. When I arrived, the hospital corridor was already filled with familiar faces from newspapers and business dinners. Lu Shiqing, with tubes all over him, his neatly combed hair from the newspapers now in disarray across his forehead. Seeing me, a spark lit up in his dark eyes. "Yu Jun, you came after all." I sat by his bedside, silent for a long moment before speaking. "Shiqing, you need to live. Your parents were just talking about you yesterday. They miss you." Under the blanket, his chest heaved as Lu Shiqing asked in a low voice, "And you?" My gaze passed over him, resting on the heart rate monitor on the other side. Softly, I spoke, "Mr. Diplomat, more than anyone, I want you to live." Suddenly, Lu Shiqing grasped my hand, his grip strong. "I promise you, I will live." "Yu Jun, will you come again?" Looking into his reddened eyes, I suddenly remembered something and asked, "What about Tang Xuani?" Lu Shiqing's voice turned indifferent, as if speaking of someone insignificant. "Why mention her? It seems she died in Paris 3 years ago." In this new life, Tang Xuani's fate remained unchanged. Afterward, I visited Lu Shiqing regularly. Like clocking in for a job, I learned from others that over these years, Lu Shiqing returned to the country once a month amid his busy schedule. What was he doing? Opinions were divided. I recalled the familiar figure I saw outside the embroidery shop, somewhat incredulous. On the day Lu Shiqing was discharged from the hospital, he resumed his role as a dashing diplomat. His personal secretary was tying his tie, and he turned his head, animatedly describing the future to me. "Yu Jun, how about I take you to England? I've planned our wedding. I want to ask the Earl to send a congratulatory letter." Shiqing, I couldn't help but interrupt him. "Don't come looking for me anymore." His posture wavered, and his smile turned into a straight line. "Why, you clearly care about me, don't you?" I sighed. "Shiqing, I want you to live more than anyone else." I sat down and told a story that spanned 60 years. After much persuasion, he finally believed me, but that was me in a past life. "Yu Jun, in this life, I only love you." He reached over the coffee table, grasping my arm, his gaze intense. I pushed his hand away. "The one who can't let go is me." He staggered and fell onto the couch. His complexion was ashen, like a dying man. These days, I've been puzzled. Lu Shiqing, who was deeply in love with Tang Xuani, why in this life does he insist on me? Later I thought, for someone like Lu Shiqing, born into wealth and gifted, there was nothing he couldn't have. Thus, the more unobtainable something was, the more precious it became. He didn't love Tang Xuani, nor did he love me. He didn't understand that love is about connecting hearts after obtaining it. Walking out of the closely monitored private hospital, a car was already waiting outside. A man in a blue scholar's robe warmed my icy fingertips in his palm. His eyes filled with indescribable tenderness. "Quick, get in the car, I have prepared warm porridge for you." Yanxing and I were married for 60 years, in perfect harmony. Even in our old age, we still held hands and walked through the park. Whenever the mood struck, we would sing opera together, the music lingering, two people from an old era, still cherishing these old hobbies. So, when Yenshin got throat cancer, I was devastated. Passing by the same VIP ward, I heard a name that was both strange and familiar. What a pity. Sick and without a spouse to accompany him, I heard he never married. No children either. Ah, no matter how glorious in youth, to be lonely and childless in old age is indeed lamentable. Looking at the old man curled up in the hospital bed, frail and skeletal, I felt no stirrings in my heart. Later, news of Lu Shirqing's death reached me. According to gossip, his death was bizarre. A little boy pushed the door open to play, annoyed by his moaning while watching TV. He simply smothered him with a pillow. He suffocated to death. It was said that he kept calling out Yujun until his end, but no one responded. A few days later, a lawyer approached me, handing me two old necklaces. One necklace was empty, and the other contained a photo from my wedding. Mr. Lu had no descendants. He left all his estate to you. I set up a historical and cultural heritage foundation in Lu Shirqing's name. My heart was devoid of any feelings. After all, the light boat had crossed heavy mountains.